Welcome to the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, April 15th, 2015. Has this meeting been properly notified?
Yes, it has.
If you would call the roll, please.
Dito?
Here.
Eliason? Garner?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Limburger?
Here.
Sagenack?
Here.
Wiedenhoff? We have a quorum.
This evening, we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Carl Tragel Middle School students Avery Sagenack, Riley Sagenack, and Amber Wiedenhoff. If you guys would come forward, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some certificates for you guys. Hang on. Which one is it? If you guys want a hand, you can. If you want to go enjoy the water, you can do that as well. Looks like the next thing on our agenda is recognition of Employee of the Year awards.
And Dr. Jones is making his way to the table. Dr. Jones coordinates this effort, and it's really our pleasure this evening to recognize a number of outstanding employees, and we'll be introducing them one by one.
Yes, we will. Good evening, everyone. Want to take this time to introduce to you to the Board of Education and to the Oshkosh community some of our most outstanding employees. We're going to do this by categories. We're starting with our two outstanding elementary teachers. And I'm going to start with Julie Runde, who's right to my right. And what we're going to do is read some of the criteria that people nominated them, their colleagues, and what they thought and why they should be considered for this honor. Also like to let you know that they are on our bulletin board here in the boardroom. You can't see it, but back there, their picture and their name is also there. We'll stay up for the entire year. So again, we're very thrilled with this process. So let me start with Julie. And they wrote this: I strongly recommend Julie Runde as a recipient of the Employee of the Year Award for her role as a full-time literacy resource teacher at Carl Traeger Elementary. She consistently models the importance of high expectations, not only of the students in the Oshkosh Area School District, but also the essential high expectations of the literacy instruction given to all students. Julie is willing to talk and collaborate whenever she's available. Whenever I need to ask a question, plan a lesson, or discuss an idea on how to help students, Julie is there for support. She offers her lunch hour, weekend, and break time to ensure that all staff and students feel supported. She also took the time to plan Carl Traeger's Literacy Night to ensure that families are incorporating literacy into their daily lives. Julie works hard to instill a love of learning and reading with all students and staff. She is willing to help in any way that she possibly can. Not only does she do a fabulous job working collaboratively with teachers, but she also demonstrates an admirable drive to help all struggling readers. If there is a student in need, she will use up every last minute in her schedule in order to meet the needs of that student. Her reading expertise is second to none. I'm blessed to have her knowledge at the table as we put in place intensive intervention plans for students. So Julie, congratulations. Our other elementary award winner was Amy Sippert. Throughout Amy's 22-year teaching career, she has always been an educator concerned with developing the whole child into a lifelong learner and a productive citizen. As such, Amy has continuously worked to build strong relationships with families, advocate for them, and truly partner with them to affect not only each student's education, but the community as a whole. Central to Amy's work in the community is building family involvement in literacy. Amy has spent a lot of time working with the National Writing Project. The last 2 years with Amy's assistance, Merrill Elementary has been able to provide high-quality professional development in writing and family involvement strategies. Amy assists in planning monthly events for families that tie to literacy. Through successful grant writing, she was able to bring one book, one school to Merrill Elementary. Families were given a hardcover book and able to participate in shared reading experiences. Amy makes things happen. She doesn't sit back and talk about what needs to be accomplished. She sees the need and addresses it. Staff, students, and families view Amy as a master educator and a literacy resource. Amy makes Merrill a stronger place and helps better build everyone around her. So congratulations to Amy. We're going to move on to the secondary level and I'd like to bring up Donald P. Allen and Aaron Cernjar. If they join me at the table, please. And these two educators represent the secondary level, and they were selected for the following reason. Let me start with Donald. Don Allen is the teacher in the Encompass classroom at South Park Middle School. He is in his 7th year here, however, he was a veteran prior to coming to OASD. Don is the epitome of service to others. He is an outstanding teacher who gives his heart and soul to very challenging students and families. He does home visits through the year and plans field trips with his students over the summer. He is well respected by the staff because they see the amazing work he does with very difficult students and because he is so giving of his time and talents. Any time assisted is needed, Don steps up. Often you will find him outside doing bus duty or helping in the cafeteria, even when he hasn't been assigned to do so. Similarly, he volunteered to lead an inspirational session with students not able to attend a PBIS initiative and was willing to host a Leadership Oshkosh participant in the past. Don educates and inspires his students to achieve their full potential. He teaches them the skills needed to be successful in life regardless of their ability or background. He is referred by some of his peers as the child whisperer because he is an expert behavioralist, especially those children with mental health needs. In fact, he is called upon to help out with behaviors in other schools, observe other students, and give feedback, and serves as a consultant. Don has integrity and shows professionalism at all times. He values and positively improves the morale of others that he works with in our entire school community. Congratulations, Don. Our other secondary educator is Erin Cernjar. She's a cross-categorical teacher at Carl Traeger. Working with Erin Cernjar both as a student teacher in the spring of 2014, but also through numerous subbing jobs through the 14-15 school year has been an extreme privilege. Erin's dedication to the students, both within her caseload and all whom are within her classrooms at Carl Traeger Middle School, is undeniable. While working with her as a student teacher, I was blown away from the start with her continuous effort each day to ensure that every student she had an opportunity to work with was given any and every resource needed to be successful. She was constantly modifying and creating materials that were differentiated, which allowed for every student at every learning level to not only learn but comprehend the material. She also took time out of her schedule while I was student teaching to work with me and to teach me everything I needed to know from a special education standpoint, and to allow for all my students in my classroom to be successful. She gave me information and guidance that has allowed me to progress and develop as a teacher that I would not have been able to without her. And for that, I cannot be more thankful. But as a student teacher, I was not able to truly understand the time and effort needed to ensure these successes for her students. It was not until I worked with her as a long-term substitute that I was finally able to see the full dedication that she has for her job. So congratulations, Erin. All right, I'd like to bring up Abigail Vandehei. Oh, excuse me. Did you get that? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving me there, Kim. Abigail, it was nominated for the First Year Teacher Award. It is truly an honor to nominate Abby for the OASD Employee of the Year in the First Year Teacher category. Abby is the counselor who serves the Encompass program at West High School. The Encompass program is brand new to West and is in the first year of the Encompass program in the district. Encompass serves students with emotional and behavioral disabilities, but specifically targets students with significant mental health needs who have not been successful with other special education supports. The students Abby works with are extremely at risk for dropping out, engaging in high-risk behaviors, and even committing suicide. These are students who have difficulty trusting others and who display emotional instability, and challenging behaviors. Abby is a natural when it comes down to developing positive and trusting relationships with their students. She understands that nurturing trust and relationships is an ongoing process, so she develops time every day to listen to and support every student. Abby is able to empathize with her students and take a compassionate, non-judgmental approach as she works with her students. In addition, Abby also understands that in order for her students to be successful in life, they need ongoing instruction with social skills, coping skills, and anger management skills, not to mention college, career, and community readiness. Abby is able to provide support in all these areas on a daily basis. More importantly, she is able to tailor her support to each student's specific needs. For example, Abby plans opportunities to take students out in the community to learn how to use public transportation and access a variety of community resources. Abby also takes a student who is pregnant to an agency that provides critical education for pre- and postnatal care. Abby is a fierce advocate for her students. She works closely with school administrators to address concerns and also extends her work to the families of her students. Abby understands how family issues impact her students and collaborate with parents, social workers, and other community agencies to ensure that there is support at the family level. Abby is making a difference in the lives of Oshkosh's most at-risk students. Her impact is significant despite being new to her job. It will be exciting to watch Abby's career unfold. As she continues to grow and learn, Abby will no doubt impact countless lives and influence other educators to better understand and meet the needs of her students with mental health disabilities. So congratulations, Abby. Okay. Susan Martin. Susan Martin, there was one Administrator of the Year, and here's what they wrote about Susan Martin. I'm nominating Mrs. Martin for the Administrator of the Year award. First of all, Mrs. Martin is an individual who builds her practice on having positive rapport with students. It is a common experience to see Mrs. Martin talking to the students in the hall, calling students by name, and helping students overcome obstacles in their life. Mrs. Martin can be seen packaging food to send to students in need, talking to a student who is having a bad day, celebrating the achievements with students who have just accomplished a goal, and expressing compassion to students who have had to deal with trauma in their lives. Her rapport with students allows her to build meaningful connections in order for students to feel safe at school. Mrs. Martin has created an environment that fosters teacher development and has established a school community that collaborates together. Teachers and support staff work together to create a positive school environment. She creates many opportunities for teachers to expand their toolbox of behavior management options. Teachers are encouraged to participate in monthly meetings on conscious discipline. Teachers have the opportunity to share strategies that they have tried in their classroom. Washington has an environment that encourages teachers to share what they are doing now and how it is helping their classroom community. Susan makes herself available beyond the hours of the school day to meeting with teachers to work on strategies that will improve the success of students who are in need of extra support. Through all of the hard work Mrs. Martin has done, our school has seen a dramatic change in office referrals. Students and teachers have the tools to help students in the classroom. They understand the importance of creating meaningful relationships with their students. They see the benefits of establishing a classroom family and positive expectations. So congratulations, Susan. And we have 2 support staff, but one could not make it tonight because she had commitment. So I'd like to bring up Eva Martinez and Diane Griswold. We'll start with Diane. She was not available tonight due to another commitment of serving students, believe it or not. So, but I would still like to recognize her publicly. Diane Griswold is an excellent candidate for the Oshkosh Area School District Employee of the Year. She participates in most, if not all, parent and school activities such as Family Movie Night, Diversity Night, and the Scholastic Book Fair. She regularly puts in time outside of her work hours because she knows extra time to communicate with staff positively affects student achievement. During the school day, she demonstrates the epitome of hard work. Diane goes above and beyond to help students, staff, and parents. For example, she will rearrange her lunch schedule and break times to help students if there is a need. She will often help parents who have questions when picking up or dropping off a student. Diane is an excellent team member, and she puts others first. Diane rarely misses a day of work as well. She loves being at school and takes her job very seriously. She often states how her first responsibility is to the students, and her choices reflect this. So congratulations to Diane, even though she's not here. And our second award winner in the support staff is Eva Martinez. Eva takes great care of all her students, staff, and families that she encounters. She handles delicate situations with care. She ensures that parents understand the school system that their students attend. She's an advocate for her families, staff, and students are definitely a priority to her. Getting resources lined up for her families or staff is very important to Eva, as she does this on a regular basis. She only wants what's best for her families and her students. She goes out of her way to make these events happen. Please congratulate Eva on her award. So I wanted to take the time to thank everyone. There were literally hundreds of nominations for our staff, which reflects, I think, the pride that people take in doing their jobs every day. And as a board, I think we all share, and with the administrative team, great thanks to the work that all of these people do every day to make a difference in our children's lives. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Next, we have board and administrative reports. I'd like to start with our student representatives. Catherine, if you would, please.
So, instead of my
We can start
report,
with David.
we're having the Encompass program led by Mrs. Metz and Mrs. Vandehei in replacement for the West presentation. So.
Okay.
All right. So I'm a student.
Yep, okay. So, as you know, I'm Abby Vandehei. I'm the school counselor with the Encompass program at Oshkosh West, and I'm here with Melissa Mentz and James Parrott. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And as you know, Encompass is a self-contained EBD classroom for students who have emotional, behavioral needs, as well as mental health concerns, and possibly trauma. So.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Mentz. I'm a paraprofessional in the Encompass program. I have children with autism, so I am a member of the Autism Society of Wisconsin. The Autism Society of Wisconsin has challenged all the schools to do a change challenge. I brought this to the attention of my students. Administrator has approved this project, and the kids have been a huge part. The students have been a huge part of the program. We've been working on it for about a month, and it went from a second-hour change challenge and grew to a whole month of awareness. And I'm going to leave that with James so he can tell you what we're doing.
I'm proud of what we're doing, to tell you the truth. We're trying to support the kids with autism, that pretty much, support them, spread awareness. And what you can see up on the board right now is, as you can tell, the t-shirt I'm wearing, which is lighted up blue, and that's a big awareness thing in the autism community. It's important, and the puzzle pieces, I'll get to those later, but that's our logo for right now. What is autism? Autism is a complex developmental disability which primarily affects a person's ability in social interactions and communications. Autism affects 1 in 68 children, totaling an estimated 673,000, or approximately 1% of the children in the United States. Incidents of autism are 4 times more common in boys than in girls, and typically appear during the first 3 years of life. Autism services cost U.S. citizens $236 to $262 billion annually. It costs more than $20,600 per year to educate a student with autism. What represents autism? Puzzle pieces represent autism spectrum disorder. Due to its complexity, as the ASD is a puzzle to us all, the puzzle piece also represents that it takes a lot of people to create success for those individuals with ASD, such as psychologists, psychiatrists, speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, behavior therapists, autism consultants, social workers, doctors, dietitians, and classroom teachers. What are we doing to spread awareness? Number 1, we're announcing autism facts. Number 2, we're making and selling arts and crafts. And number 3, we're joining the National Light It Up Blue campaign. Number 4, we're selling awareness t-shirts. And number 5, we're doing a 2nd-hour change for autism challenge. Number 6, blue hair extensions. And number 7, special education department event. Number 8, we're doing the baseball event. And number 9, we basically just want to lead by example. We want to make a great impression. We don't want to set bad examples. Number 10, we walk for autism. And number 11, we're posting information and resources throughout the school. Who are we supporting or helping? Everyone: students, parents, teachers, Autism Society of Wisconsin, Walk for Autism, and the community. This is how it looked on April 2nd for the Light It Up Blue event that we hosted. The blue lights are really cool. I think they're awesome. I want to just put that in there. Our puzzle pieces are for sale in the O room at Oshkosh West High School, 3rd and 4th hour, and are available. Well, not really. Are they here? Or?
They are here.
All right. Are available here for a variety of prices from 25 to $1, 25 cents to $1. This is how our flyers will look. I don't know if you guys just want to check that out or.
Just tell them about the event.
The event will be hosted on the 24th at Oshkosh West High School. It's kind of the bigger event, not the first event. It's going to have games and concessions and everything else there, and we're even setting up a quiet room for the kids with autism. So. Yeah. That's our last slide. Questions?
First of all, you did a great job of explaining your program. It was really well done. I do have two quick questions, though. Could you tell us more about that second-hour challenge? And
The
also,
second hour challenge,
yes.
where we're gonna have we're planning on having Ziploc bags or something in the classroom for second hour. We're gonna have the runners drop them off, and then we're gonna, the Encompass program, I'm thinking, right? The Encompass program is gonna come by and pick up the money after second hour and donate that for.
It's a week-long challenge, and the class that makes the most will win a prize with the school. But the Autism Society of Wisconsin, we're also reporting to them, and they will provide a prize too for the 3 top classes.
Great. Great. And then, thank you. And then my second question is, when is the Autism Awareness Walk?
The 25th
Of April?
of April.
With Walk for, with
Thank
Friends
you.
for Autism in Kimberly. And the students, we're supporting the walkers. We're going to be helping with the lunch line and so on and so forth, whatever they need us to do.
Good.
Thank you.
I have a question. Where can we get the T-shirts?
The T-shirts are on sale actually, so.
At the high school?
At the high school, and I believe we could probably put some orders in for here too.
Okay.
I actually have them out of my van.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you.
They're $13.
Okay, 13 bucks. All right, great. Thank you.
I have a quick question and a comment. First of all, it's great to have you here. Maybe this is something we should do more of. Just have students come in and talk about what they're working on, which leads me to my question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, James, right?
Right.
But what has working on this project meant for you?
Good
It's
question.
meant a lot because it wasn't just this project that made me start working with the kids that have autism and everyone that has autism. I honestly went out of my way before I even got into this project, and I went bowling with the kids with autism at West. So that really set some insight into play and made me really think about this project.
It's really neat. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm graduating this June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, hey, Mr. Cole.
I'm Mr. Colt at Merrill Middle School. I'm a former teacher of James, so I'm the one speaking for other teachers that had him in the past that can say how proud they are of him to see him graduate and presenting in front of the board. That's really neat to see. But my question is about the baseball event, James. I'm curious if there's any details on that yet?
Tuesday night.
It's Tuesday night. And it's a West game, so.
Oh, the last game of the season? Okay.
No.
There's more games to come, but that Tuesday night, we are working with We Are One, and we're going to spread some awareness along with them on that game on Tuesday night, the 21st.
I want to say that Men's has done a great job at making it kind of a work environment for all the students in the Encompass program.
Very good.
Good job, James.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much.
for your report.
All right, so now for the North update. So the week before spring break, we had Multicultural Week, and it was all week, and we had presentations each day during class periods. On Monday, they had Wade Fernandez, a Native American speaker, and he is also a musician, and he told about valuing one's own culture and how to be yourself. And then Thursday, community members and students discussed traveling abroad, which you can see in that lower right picture. And they also had lots of other presentations from cultural superstitions, trips to Latin America, stories from immigrants, and exchange students. And the students really enjoyed it because they got to take a break from normal classes and learn about the people in their school that they might the stories that they might not have heard otherwise. And our spring play this year is Elvis People. It's a series of short vignettes that are only about 7 minutes long, and they all follow the theme of Elvis, and it sounds kind of hokey, but it's not. Not all of the influences are good, and it's sort of how Elvis affected their lives. But it's April 30th through May 2nd at 7 p.m. in the North Auditorium, and May 3rd at 2 p.m. Tickets cost $7 for adults and $5 for students and senior citizens, but high school students from North or West get in free with their ID. I'm actually one of the student directors for this show, and it's been really fun to get everybody to learn their lines, and I have been an actress, but I've never experienced the production from this side, so it's exciting. So here's a music department update. We've been busy. To start off, the choir, their Pops concert is tonight, so I know you'll all run out and see if you can catch the tail end after this meeting. Band, we have our North Star concert tomorrow night at 8 p.m. in the Webster Stanley Middle School Auditorium, because we're doing a fundraiser to see if we can't help towards the fund for the new auditorium chairs.
Thank you.
And that concert is one where the students actually direct it. Every senior that wants to can direct a song, picks it out, and works with the students through like tempo changes and how to make it all come together. And we present our senior gift to Mr. Dorschner, the band director. And this year we painted a stand bright green, and we're all gonna sign it, and it'll be super cute. The orchestra's next concert is on the 19th of May at 8 p.m. in the Alberta Kimball Auditorium. And in that picture down towards the right, you can see the choir and some of the band at the Madison Avenue Atrium, where we performed in New York City. We took a trip before spring break, and we spent 5 days. We took a really long bus ride, spent 5 days there. We saw all the sights as well as performing there, and the band had a clinic with the conductor from On the Town, a musical we saw, and the choir had got to meet the actors and actresses from the show Matilda that we also saw. So we were working on music as well as having fun. So here's the sports update. Baseball, the North varsity baseball team is state ranked and has started the season 3-2. Boys golf, they participated in the Watoma Invite over spring break, and they begin the FVA dual meet season at West Haven Golf Course against Neenah next Tuesday. Girls soccer, the girls soccer team is off to a great start. I know I have several friends, and they're very excited about the fact that they're winning. Their record is 4-1, and they even won at the Wisconsin Rapids Invite over last weekend. And softball, they took a trip over spring break to Florida for team bonding, and they also participated in a tournament there, and their record was 2-2. They had lots of fun, and what a better way to get to know your teammates besides go spend 9 days with them. Boys tennis won all 3 matches over spring break, and they're ready to get going in the FVA tournament contest. Track finished the indoor season, and now they're headed outside. Communities at Oshkosh North was named Partner of the Year by the City of Oshkosh at an event held on March 23rd, and there you can see some of the students and the award that they received. The Academic Awards and Hall of Fame induction will happen April 24th at 10 a.m. in the North Field House. The academic award portion, students who have maintained a high enough GPA receive awards for doing that, and everyone gets to come and appreciate the fact that they paid attention to school while also doing all of the other things in their lives. But I'm really excited because I get to introduce the Hall of Fame inductee, Miley Chang. She is pretty amazing. I've been reading her biography, and she works at NASA. She works with creating machines that more easily work with humans in space, and so that they don't fall into disrepair. She's also a member of the Engineers Without Borders and the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society. She went to UW-Madison and just kind of, now she lives in Houston, Texas, where she works there. So here are some upcoming events. Again, the North Star concert is tomorrow night at Webster Stanley Middle School. We have the Hall of Fame induction. Prom and post-prom are the 25th at the UWO Alumni Center. And the Polaris National Honor Society induction occurs the 26th of April at 2 p.m. in the North Auditorium. And always, it's a great day to be a Spartan.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Looks like the superintendent's report is up next.
Thank you, and as with all of the student activities and all the celebrations going on, we have a fairly long superintendent's good news report, but if we didn't have good news to report, boy, this wouldn't be worth it. So we'll celebrate what's occurred in the last 2-week period. Reed Elementary School celebrates Read Across America. Reed Elementary celebrated reading, and Dr. Seuss with a series of book-related dress days, as well as a variety of guest readers throughout the week. A very special thank you to the guests, including members of the Oshkosh North High School basketball team and the wonderful Red families for sharing the love of reading with students. The ALPS program provided a history lesson. Mrs. Horn's 4th and 5th grade ALPS program hosted an informal informational fair about a variety of historical events in the United States history on Tuesday, March 24th. Students wrote information books, showcased them with visual displays, costumes, props, and there were over 125 visitors at the ALPS program, which was held really actually in their classroom, and it was a full room. Franklin's first graders learned about financial literacy. Junior achievement representatives from U.S. Bank began the Junior Achievement Our Families unit with Mrs. Collins' first grade class. Volunteers explained the ways family members, jobs, businesses contribute to students and families in the community. Students completed a picture book about their neighborhood. Spring maple syrup time. Kim Pruce taught Oshkosh North students how to prepare maple trees for the spring flow of sap, emptying buckets full of sap on it was a daily job, and then slowly reducing the sap to golden brown syrup as part of the springtime harvest event. Jefferson Elementary School's Family Literacy Night. Jefferson staff posed with Amy Hunton during an event filled Literacy Night. Jefferson students had their opportunity to learn about literacy and cooking. It can go hand in hand with Amy Hunton from Fox 11's Living with Amy cooking show at their Family Literacy Night on March 3rd. Hunton engaged with the Jefferson families with humor, audience participation, literacy integration, reading recipes, labels, etc., and the importance of cooking up the memories with children in their kitchens. Chef Elliot Bushell from the Roxy Supper Club prepared Hayton salad and skillets recipes for families, which brought rave reviews. South Park staff were recognized. On Monday, March 23rd, several South Park staff members were recognized at the Celebrate Education Award ceremonies. Congratulations to Mrs. Helbing and Sandy Colbert for their selected for the Ruby Award winners, for Kofelt on being selected for being teachers of the Ruby Award for being a teacher of excellence. Don Allen also was recognized, as we recognized him earlier this evening, by the school district. All three of these staff members have made such a difference in the lives of students, families at South Park Middle School, and we appreciate all that they do. One School, One Book at Merrill Elementary, The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. We heard a little bit about that earlier this evening. Thanks to the generous grant from the Bemis Foundation and a lovely donation from the estate of Alan Walter, and every Merrill family received a copy of The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. Families followed a 4-week reading schedule during February and March. Reading the book aloud during the school day and participating in door decorating contests. The experience culminated with a celebration highlighting Ivan's joy in creating beauty. One School, One Book at Merrill created a powerful sharing reading experience. They are looking forward to next year's selection. South Park news. South Park Greek Week South Park students and staff participated in Greek Week during the week of March 23rd. This involved an opening ceremony during the morning meeting on Monday and grade level competitions throughout the week during lunch. Greek games including horse races, discus, chariot races, tug of war, dodgeball, and sumo wrestling. They also had a week of dress-up days and finished off the week with an assembly on Friday for the students who showed the Panther way with the most respectful, responsible, and safe throughout the third quarter. A big thank you to the Behavioral Action Team and the staff who planned, supervised, and participated in this awesome week. Thank you for the students who got involved and participated as well. In addition, South Park received a grant. South Park received a grant that was the recipient of a $10,000 grant from the Edward and Belle Rudy Endowment Fund for the South Park Learning and Innovation Cooperative. South Park plans to use the funds to make a technology space that creates and promotes innovation, learning, community engagement, and workforce development. Students and teachers will use the space as a place to teach, mentor, and inspire the next generation of creators and innovators. We are excited to get going with this project and so appreciative for this opportunity. South Park had more activities. South Park Middle School staff participated in the second annual trivia contest benefiting the Oshkosh Area School District Foundation on Saturday, March 28th. The staff dressed up as Gilligan's Island characters and named themselves the South Park Castaways. They placed 8th out of 17 teams that brought home the best theme award, South Park Ski Club wraps up their season. Ski Club members at South Park Middle School celebrated the end of the season with a pizza party held on March 20th. During lunch, the South Park Ski Club took 4 trips to Nordic Mountain throughout the school year. Determined to have the most fun, members refused to let the cold weather dampen their spirits this season. Thankfully, we were able to wrap up the season with perfect conditions during the last trip on March 6th. A special thank you to all of the staff and parents who helped chaperone during the season. If interested in having your child participate in the ski club at South Park next year, please contact Samantha Moore at the website address for more information. An opportunity will be that will be remembered and cherished for a lifetime. The Oshkosh Middle and High School orchestras were involved in an incredible experience this past March with the 2-day rehearsal and large concert with founding member of the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Mark Wood. The district's orchestra teachers spent many months writing a SOAR project, working with Hyde Music Company, and preparing students with music in order to have the artist in residency, Mark Wood, with Electrifying Your Strings music orchestra program in our schools. Oshkosh Middle and High School students learned how to move with the music while playing rock and roll on their string instruments. Most students had never explored playing this genre of music on a stringed instrument, or they have never played an electronic instrument. Many students also learned to create their own music and improve on stage with Mark Wood while playing on Wood's electric instruments. Mark Wood definitely inspired students to keep playing, performing, and enjoying music in their lives. Electrify Your Strings was an opportunity the students and orchestra teachers will remember and cherish for a lifetime. In addition to working with our middle school and upper level orchestra students, Mark Wood was also able to talk to and play for all third graders in the district and visited South Park Middle and Webster Stanley schools. That was a wonderful week of music. Art in the Garden award winners. Congratulations to Erica Dahlman, Best Show, Colored Pencil, Oshkosh West. Katie Lichtenberg, first grade, a Mosaic from Oshkosh West. And Schnabel with third place with Colored Pencil from Oshkosh West. And Ellie Stickney, fourth place with a colored pencil from Oshkosh West. Again, great art performance. Anne Marie Kizlowski named the National Warren E. Shull Middle School Advisor of the Year. and Marie Kozulski has been an outstanding educator at Oshkosh Merrill School, and now is currently in the Oaklawn Elementary School at Merrill Elementary. She and her students leaders have been very strong and active student council. Anne Marie is a team player and works tirelessly to serve student leaders in the community and state level. Anne Marie has developed an excellent student council and leadership program in Oshkosh. Her council has participated in a great deal of community service events, facilitated countless school initiatives and staff recognition, and a great deal more. They have attended numerous Region 3 fall conferences, spring business meetings, and WASC elementary institutes. She and her councils have taken their leadership to the highest level and hosted several elementary state conferences. Words cannot describe the substantial amount of work and dedication Anne Marie has given at the state level. Without question, her involvement and contributions have helped to develop and maintain a viable student council organization locally, regionally, and in the state of Wisconsin. She will represent not only Wisconsin, but Region 4 in the upcoming national conference in New Mexico this June. Shapiro receives a grant to support the STEM initiative. On April 1st, 2015, the MEMIC Foundation presented Jacob Shapiro Brain-Based Instructional Laboratory School with a grant to support their STEM initiative. The grant will be used to purchase the kit Focus on STEM. The kit will be used primarily with special education and ELL students to assist them in the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics skills in the regular education environment. The proverbial wonderful big check being pictured on the occasion. Webster Middle School students raised over $2,200 for charity. Webster Middle School students helped the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS, by raising $2,227.12. This is over $1,000 more than they raised last year. The goal of LLS is to cure leukemia, lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, myeloma, and improve quality of life for patients and their families. Webster students held penny competition in advisory, and in additionally opened up individual competition with online fundraising. Lighted Up Blue, we heard about earlier this evening, and so I will not repeat, but we heard a much more extensive and quality report than contained in this package, but is summarized here. Dedicated to special education, on April 10th, 3 Oshkosh Area School District educators were recognized for their dedication to special education students. The Wisconsin Council of Administrators of Special Education, WCASS Region 4, honored Don Allen, Encompass teacher, who we honored earlier this evening at South Park, Jess Faust, school psychologist, and Junko Jacobs, program support teacher. The recognition program had luncheon took place in Stevens Point at the Bliss Education Center in CISA 5. We congratulate those 3 educators within the district. Merrill Elementary, March Family Night, Writing Night. Merrill families gathered on March 26th to celebrate writing as a school community. Participants worked through 3 stations focused on different genres in writing. 10 Things I Love About You by D. Kirk, and In My Family, in Familia, a bit of Spanish within, by C. Garza, and photographs of familiar Oshkosh landmarks served as the inspiration for the process. A light supper was served, and every child received a book, and a raffle was held for the adults. The event is part of Merrill's ongoing Family Academic Literacy Project grant through the National Writing Project. Autism awareness at Roosevelt Elementary School. The fourth grade teachers at Roosevelt Elementary, Tracy Marin, Karen Cole, and Kay Roding, created a school-wide project for autism awareness. Each grade level teacher was given a lesson plan that included an activity to teach within their classroom about differences Each student then created a puzzle piece to include something they like, such as their favorite food or color, to further the lesson theme. They then assembled all the puzzle pieces to make something beautiful. It shows that each student is unique, but together we make a fantastic school. Teachers were given a certificate to show that their classes participate in the event, to display outside their classroom door, and everyone was asked to wear blue on April 2nd to celebrate World Autism Day. The Wave Robotics program from Oshkosh returns from the second regional competition in Minneapolis as champions, competing against 59 other teams at Mariucci Arena at the University of Minnesota. Over 2,500 spectators watched as Wave Robotics, the Wave Robotics swept through the competition, earning their second championship title this year. Wave Robotics was awarded the Chairman's Award for the most prestigious award, the Champions Award, and the most prestigious award to a team in First Robotics program. The Chairman's Award qualifies Wave Robotics to be one of 60 finalists who will compete to win the championship Chairman's Award and a shot to be the first in the Hall of Fame. Next up, Wave Robotics is the first robotic world champion located at Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis, Missouri, taking place April 23rd to 25th. Wave will compete against 600 other teams from 12 countries for a shot at the world title. Wave Robotics is currently ranked in the top 25 teams in the world out of 2,900 teams. Each year, Wave Robotics is given a completely new challenge with a limited amount of resources and only 6 weeks to build a robot from scratch. This year's challenge, Recycle Rush, required teams to create an up to 120-pound, 5-foot-tall robot. Working with 2 other teams in a 2.5-minute match, robots must be able to quality stack FedEx totes on the top of a platform and place a recycling container on top of those totes to earn the points. The future competition is listed at the Wave site. I had the privilege on this Saturday during spring break to visit and attend part of the events at the University of Minnesota and to recognize our students there. They were very pleased to have a familiar face there. And as I tour through the schools, students who are within the Wave Robotics group have become quite attached. They make sure that I know who they are in every location, and they identify themselves. They're very pleased with their work, and I know that Dr. Herzog and I had a chance to visit over at their exhibition as they work in the basement of Tipler Middle School, and they simply do an outstanding job and represent the Oshkosh community extremely well. And it is funded and supported through our Recreation Department programming. Merrill Elementary K-Kids Club. Merrill families gathered to plant some flowers and create thank you cups to give to others. The Oshkosh Mid-Morning Kiwanis Club sponsored Merrill Elementary K-Kids. K-Kids is a program in which empowers students to develop and implement service learning projects to help their schools and their neighborhoods. 6th grade Perry Tipler students learn about teen activism. 6th grade students in Mrs. Swatilla's and Mrs. Weiss's class just finished up their 3rd quarter informational chapter books with teen activism learning to write like journalists. Students spent weeks researching, collaborating, and writing their nonfiction chapter books on a topic of their choice. These books will be in a large portion of their 3rd quarter grade, and since they spend so much of that time working on them. And congratulations to Mrs. Courtney Willard from Washington Elementary School. She's a recipient of the Funds for Teacher Grant. The grant will allow her to travel to Florida to attend the Conscious Discipline Summer Institute. And it was an exciting day at Lakeside, now these are fresh pictures
Why
2
not?
hours ago.
That just happened.
Yes. In fact, they're so that my page is blank because they were just inserted in. But we celebrated at 4 o'clock this afternoon the official groundbreaking for the addition to Lakeside Elementary School. One of the joys of being there was we simply played with a pile of gravel and moved them. But the good news is behind us is the footings are coming in rapidly on the new addition, and we're about 4 weeks into the project already, and looking forward to about the third week of August when we can walk the halls of that new addition. So we're really pleased to do that. The last item is simply the activities that superintendents had a chance to be a party to in the last 2 weeks. A rather extensive report, but you know, as we reflect on all the things we do in schools, it pays for us to take time to celebrate student learning and the outstanding work of our staff and parents in working with our children. So thank you so much. That completes my report.
Are there any other reports from committee chairs? John?
Hi. I'd like to report that the Energy Committee met on Monday, March 30th at 10 o'clock, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat tonight. We have some updates on our website, the Energy Link. I guess if people want to see what's going on in the district with energy, they should go to our website and go under District, About Us, and Energy. Good news is all current projects are on track, and there's work scheduled to begin in June on some other projects. Central office in Shapiro will be bid out, it says here, next week, but I'm assuming that's happened now because we're past this. So the scope of the work for these are going to be the same as in the past, with controls, venting, and piping. And the district office will be getting boilers and controls. There's some issue with, they found some piping that's too small, and so it's causing some major energy inefficiencies. So we got to replace that out to save some money. Just to sort of summarize some of that, I'd like to point out that over the last 7 years, the district has done $56 million worth of maintenance on our facilities, and that includes Oak Lawn, but that's still quite a chunk. So we have been doing our due diligence on protecting our taxpayers' investment in our facilities. So that's a little aside. Back to what's going on. Roosevelt School is undergoing some retuck pointing, and that'll take 2 years. The Lakeside edition is currently on budget and started 3 hours ago, exactly.
The unofficial start was 3 hours ago.
Yes. There'll also be a little work done there on the gymnasium as well as at Merrill. There's some talk about looking into putting some ceiling fans in those gymnasiums to push the heat down to give us some better efficiencies on our heating. Areas of concern, we took a look at energy usage over a few years. Oak Lawn has shown a big increase on electricity usage, and so we're looking into why that's happening. No answers yet. We had a little talk about making some of these reports a little more user-friendly. And let's see. Jim talked about the energy management systems and how things are being taken care of proactively versus reactively. We're finally kind of ahead of the game on this, which is a good place to be. One of the things we're onto is new thermostats that monitor the CO2 levels in rooms. so that when your students are in the room too long, the CO2 levels go up. It's all this breathing you're doing. We can catch that and then bring in outside air. Otherwise, we don't need to bring in outside air. So we're going to be able to really be efficient in how we use our ventilation system. Energy usage rules. We're taking a look at a document for that. Photos and narratives. Again, we have now all these energy efficiency projects going on, and we have some before and after pictures of some of this work, and Kim Brown, I think, has produced a video. So I would encourage the public to go and take a look at some of this so you can see how your money is being spent. I think all that's at that link I gave you. We also talked a little bit about some sort of a energy efficiency window sticker or something for schools. The Energy Star, we've had some discussions about Energy Star. It costs quite a bit of money to get that done, although many of our buildings, I think, now start to qualify. Could we put up something not Energy Star that, sort of says, look, we've done a lot of work on this building to make it energy efficient. We don't want to have to pay for an Energy Star, but I think that taxpayers deserve to know that we've actually invested in this building. So we're working on that, and in a nutshell, that's kind of the report. Our next meeting date will be June 1st at 10 a.m. So if anybody wants to come and learn about what's going on in the district and energy, you're welcome to show up at, I think it's at our maintenance building. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Dr. Sagnick?
The energy, I've got the E on my mind. Education Committee met on Wednesday, March 24th at 8 p.m. The issues that we talked about and discussed were STEM updates and CLCs. We had the pleasure of meeting Sarah Adamet, the new K-8 STEM coach, which was very, very exciting, and she provided an update on the current projects that are going on, which includes the partnership with UWO for STEM Nights, Oakwood Environmental Day, teaching professional learning, including the next generation science standards, Shapiro's professional learning, shifting its focus towards engineering practices, the Hour of Code in partnership with Wave Robotics, April's Tech Savvy Conference, March NSTA Conference, and the South Park Learning and Innovation Center grant that was recently awarded. So there's a lot of current work going on, as well as, this was exciting, there have been 21 youth apprenticeships placements, which has gone up from 0 to 2 to 21. So there's been quite an increase in that, which is exciting for the kids. Her future work that she's going to be initiating is the district NGSS alignment, possible STEM certificate with UWO, increasing the support materials for STEM and literacy, a STEM network of Wisconsin, and on June 29th and 30th, there's some teachers that are working on a 3-year plan for science in grades K-12. So pretty exciting. The update on CLC is also really exciting to hear. The district is moving that program forward and currently has 4 programs and is looking at the possibility of adding 1 more, because Tipler has just applied for a grant, Webster's on its 3rd cycle, and as you know, we have sites at Washington, Emmeline Cook, Webster, and then North. And did I miss one? Merrill, yes. I knew I would miss one. Sorry about that. And hearing the update about the new project at North is really exciting, because that seems to really be filling a need for students after school. And that was really rewarding to hear about. In terms of the Lighted Schoolhouse CLC project globally, per the results of an external evaluator study of students who attend CLC regularly, they are doing better in reading and in school in general. So the results from that project is showing some real promising results. So in addition to all that, there's kind of been some revamping, reorganization of the structure. A new chart was created, staffing's been adjusted, and because of the demands and the needs and aligning it with the school day, it's changed to a 5-day program that goes until 5:30 to meet the needs of parents. And it's now considered, so I'm going to encourage everybody to begin to shift the language. It's not an after-school program, it's an extended day program. And so changing that language to clearly represent what the program does will be important. Very exciting, very exciting. We talked about other things about the CLC and the extended day program that I won't go into. We also discussed skiing, skating, sailing programs for the future, and we'll continue to look at grant funding to support those initiatives. Future meeting agenda, which, like John said, we invite people to be involved in, is the possibility of discussing a service requirement for graduation, because the committee sees the benefit of getting students connected to the community in a service manner. So that's going to be upcoming. The next meeting is not scheduled because there's a shift in the board.
Thank you for your report. Board's president's report. I guess since I find myself in this chair this evening, I had the pleasure of attending the Lakeside official groundbreaking today. That little school for me personally has been a huge part of my life. 52 years ago, I attended school out there from 1st through 6th grade. I met 2 teachers out there, profoundly changed my life. One giving me a love of reading and the other giving me a love of history. I remember distinctly sitting in the cafeteria out there and watching the principal, Robert Lorenz, trying to comfort about 15 crying teachers on the day John Kennedy was killed. That school, when Green Meadow was closed, is one of the principal reasons that I decided to run for the school board. Today, when I was out there and reflecting on some of these things, I couldn't help but notice these big pallets of bricks out there. And I hope as we lay the foundation to build this addition, that those bricks that are being laid out there will also go to close any of the animosity and to rebuild a trust for that particular area of our community, which I don't believe has been made whole yet, but it will be through this action. When they closed Green Meadow School, that kind of tore that community apart out there, and I think that we're doing the right thing by seeing this being rebuilt out there. Individually considered resolutions. Resolution number 1. Be it resolved that Kelly Saginack be commended for her contribution to the Oshkosh Area School District as a member of the Board of Education. Kelly Saginack has served as a board member for 3 years, serving as a member of the Policy and Governance Committee, a member of the Chair of Education Committee, part of the Partners in Education Advisory Committee, and Human Growth and Development Advisory Committee, and as a board representative to the OEA negotiations team. She has given generously of her time and effort not only in promoting education on the Oshkosh Area School District, but also in serving as a board member who was a consistently candid fiscal conservative. She has been a source of inspiration to the board and a guiding hand in making decisions and establishing policies. As a school board member, Kelly's professional expertise has been constantly on exhibit. She has led her school board member colleagues, always remembering the social and emotional needs of the children we educate. And as a trainer of educational professionals, Kelly has demonstrated support for the highest standard of educational practice, which is also reflected in her school board contributions. That support is only equaled by her attention to the social and emotional needs of professional educators. Kelly knows so well that children are honored, respected, and educated at the highest level by professionals who experience the same. Kelly constantly demonstrates her most important quality, her humanity toward all with whom she has contact. The respect, the listening, and the sound, heartfelt advice will be a loss to the school board and the administration. Kelly will continue to be relied on as a community expert, parent, and citizen, and the Oshkosh Area School District will continue to benefit from Kelly's contributions provided during her term on the board. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Kelly Saganick with the thanks and the best wishes of their colleagues on the board. Resolved this 15th day of April 2015. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Can you call the roll, please? We need to vote on this, correct?
She's asking if you want discussion.
We should probably discuss this. Do we want to discuss this?
The dissenters are few.
Kelly, for myself, I will definitely miss you on this board. Your focus on after-school programming, extended day programming, and psychology, social works, counselors, that kind of thing. I think that was a focus that we as a board really maybe did not have that much prior to you being on here. So that was nice to sit there and have that be brought in. And it was definitely a great contribution that you made.
Thank you. It's been an honor to work with every one of you. I feel like I'm walking away with lifelong friends. I know that for a fact. It was wonderful to be able to bring social emotional learning as a priority to the district. As I know you've heard me say, you cannot pour knowledge into a heart and a mind that's hurting. It's just going to deflect. And it was just really an honor, and I'm so grateful for the support for the extended day program. Having been a partner to that program since 2005, it's just a joy to see what goes on in those classrooms, and to see it grow has just been very gratifying. You all have taught me so much. I have learned from every one of you, and I'm grateful for the experience. And like I told Stan, I'm just down the road. I'm not going anywhere. So I think you all have come to know that I love the front line much more than the board role, just because I love being out in the community and out in the schools, and I feel much more comfortable and at ease in that role. And so you can count on me to continue to be there for you and for the students.
So we can appoint you to committees without you being...
Citizen advocate.
Yes. So thank you for those amazing words. Wow, it's just been an honor to be here.
Well, you're not going to get away from me so easily because I know where your office is, and I get there very easily.
Remember, it's under construction.
That's true. But I just want to say, Kelly, you have been the conscience and the soul of this school board, and those 3 years have been just fabulous, and we're going to miss you. You're leaving some big shoes to fill.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. I've just enjoyed even some of the laughter. We've actually really laughed and laughed hard.
I just want to thank you. I've learned from you, as I've learned from the other board members as well, and your constant reminding us of the need to educate the whole child, and to be aware of those external factors, what are external for us in the lives of those children, are so important for us to consider as we review reports and issues that come before us. So I just want to say thank you personally.
Very welcome.
You will be missed.
Kelly, I've written many of these for board members leaving the board. You made this job of writing this resolution very easy because I could know and understand and reflect upon your constant attention to the issues that I emphasized in this resolution. And it made my job easy because I didn't have to dig for words. I knew,
thank you.
I knew what, so that was a critical part, and it was one of the easier resolutions I've ever written for a retiring board member. So,
thank you very much, Stan. Thank you very much.
If there's no further discussion, can you call the roll?
Lumberger?
Aye.
Lumberger, aye. Saginac?
Aye.
Tito?
Aye.
Tito, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Motion carried.
We have a plaque at this time to make what? We'll just leave it in the box.
Oh, thank you.
Hang in your office.
Oh.
Take care of yourself. Yes, we can.
I said to several of my friends on the board, now we can do things without having Sherry have an open meeting request.
It's true.
It's true.
Workshops. 4 rapid workshops we have lined up.
Yes. Emphasis on rapid.
Our first one is on Positive Behavior Interventional System, PBIS. Linda, Matt, and Gary. And Marge.
Thank you. Yep.
Good evening. Before we start, we want to thank you for the invite, and we want to thank OASD leadership and the Board of Education for supporting us this school year. My name is Gary Mellery. After 33 years in the field of education, I retired this past year from the Appleton Area School District. Came out of retirement in October to be Oshkosh Area School District new PBS Coordinator .3. In addition to that, I'm also a Wisconsin PBS State Trainer.
And I'm Margie Vanden Bogart. I'm a former teacher and counselor here in the district. I retired in 2012, and I've been working as a .4 this year, supporting the PBIS framework as well. I'm very glad to have Gary on board.
They already know you're okay.
Rapid.
So PBIS, as far as just giving you a basic understanding, because you have had presentations previously, because it's been in the district for 3 years now, we want to make sure I get some keywords out. It's really important to understand that PBS is a framework. It's a way of doing business. It is not something that Oshkosh can purchase as a program. Each school creates their school climate and their school culture so that they're successful. And it looks different at every school, depending on how they have built that foundation. And it's all about that social culture. It's really important that when our students graduate from Oshkosh West and Oshkosh North, that out in the community they're going to be successful citizens, not academically, but behaviorally, emotionally, and socially. If we don't do that, we're not doing our jobs. PBS is successful right now because it's evidence-based. I'll be very honest, back in 1981 when I entered the field, everything was gut feelings. We didn't have research. We didn't look at data. We do that now, and that's why PBS is being so successful, not only in Wisconsin, but around the United States. It's defined. We acknowledge positive behaviors. We acknowledge positive choices and make sure that both staff and students can generalize those skills and build those deficits into competencies. And we use ongoing collaboration and data collection right now, and that's just also important so that we're going to be successful.
And why do we need school-wide PBIS, and why is it so important? Because these are the factors. It's predictable. Just as we as adults want to know what's going on, students shouldn't walk into an environment where they don't know what's going to happen from day to day. It's consistent, it's positive, and it's safe. And on the next slide, simply, students, families, and schools working together are going to be effective.
The next slide has a cartoon here, and it says, "Can you help me, Mrs. Martin?" This wasn't covered in any of my education classes. You have a principal and a teacher out there talking. Now, our classrooms do not look like this. The analogy, what we're trying to get across here, is PBIS is assisting all schools in Oshkosh, in the Valley, in Wisconsin, United States, of being predictable and consistent. Right now, research tells us that 40% of the teachers that are leaving the field of education in the first 5 years are leaving because they do not have routines and expectations. And when we go into the schools here in Oshkosh and even ask people to raise their hand, how many of you have had more than one educational course on behavior management? Some people don't even raise their hand for one. So that's the importance of PBIS, that within our schools, we have those routines and expectations. A child should never walk into a classroom and not know what's expected of them academically or behaviorally. And that's one thing that when we go to the schools and work with the schools, we make sure that those routines and expectations are given to them through technical assistance.
I'd just like you to read that quote. And again, why we can't finish that last sentence as quickly and as easily, and that's what is changing in our classrooms. And we are realizing that we are now teaching behaviors as well as teaching, we're shaping behaviors as well as teaching academics. This is just really quickly is to tell you that in 1994, PBIS started in the state of Oregon in a middle school. In 2009, it started in Wisconsin. Gary's going to give you some more pretty exciting details about what's happening in Wisconsin.
What's really important is that back in 2006, 2007, there were a handful of districts in Wisconsin that started a little bit earlier. Appleton, Sheboygan, Manitowoc, superintendents kind of had heard about it. My superintendent came to my school and said, I think we're doing this here, and we were. So what happened is we contracted with the state of Illinois, which is about 95% PBS implementation, and they trained us. So we kind of were ahead of the game. Back in 2006, when we started, when we went to the National Convention, we were one of those really small little dots at the bottom. 73 schools implementing PBIS. As Margie mentioned, PBS materialized in 2009. Right now, there's 14 states with more than 500 schools implementing, that being Illinois, being one of the top ones. But what's exciting here is Wisconsin. Wisconsin has gone from one of the least effective in 2006 to 2009, and now this year, the 5th highest in the top 5 of implementing PBIS in the United States. And that's really exciting. We have about 55% of the schools in the state that are now implementing. Even more exciting is the information that came out in the past 2 months. Not only is Wisconsin doing well with implementation, but we are #1 in the nation right now in fidelity of taking the PBS framework and implementing it the right way, making sure that we're training to fidelity, we're teaching to capacity, and making sure we give them that technical assistance like we're doing in Oshkosh right now. That's a fact that I'm very proud of because I'm part of the PBS network. So we're doing some great things. And right now in Oshkosh, we have many schools that are reaching that fidelity mark, which is really exciting, having only been in our first 3 years. Yay, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay.
There are main goals for PBIS. The first one that we talked about is that building that consistent and predictable routines and expectations. And we have nonstop boosters that we're doing. We do staff meetings. We have a lot of resources through the Wisconsin PBS network that we have schools look at to move them forward. Our goal this year in Oshkosh is building adult capacity. I haven't trained all of the schools, I've just trained some of them, and what we've been doing this year is making sure that we go into schools that everybody is dealing with it the way they should. And our motto this year is see it, own it, and solve it. We need to know that anytime we are seeing students engaging in poor choices, that we always hold students accountable for those behaviors. Because if I'm going down the hallway and you do nothing, you do nothing, you do nothing, finally you do something, Stephen, you've just sent the student the message that it's not an all-school expectation, that it's one of Stephen's rules. That can't happen. No matter how busy we are, at all times we have to see it as adults, we have to own it as adults, and we have to solve it as adults. We need to make sure that we provide ongoing behavioral lessons. We have to teach behaviors. We have had a lot of ahas this year where some of the principals are going, oh my goodness, when we started teaching behaviors, we are seeing the difference. We can never make the assumption that students have that skill attained. Skills have deficits because they're children, okay? If you're not in the hallways and there's a kindergarten going down the hallway, they're gonna run to go to the bathroom because they have to get to the bathroom. It's not a poor choice. What it is that's what little 5-year-olds do. And so making sure that they understand that we want them to walk for safety reasons and doing those redirects and those reteaching so they are safe. We want to make sure that in our school district here in Oshkosh that we're increasing the instructional time for all staff and students because that increases test scores. A data piece I don't have here that I want to give you in this slide because I forgot to put the slide in. I'm going to make believe for the sake of argument right now that these are my 4th grade teachers at one school. These 2 teachers use routines and expectations. These 2 teachers do not, okay? Research right now is telling us that if they're using routines and they're not using routines, in that math lesson during the year, each class they lose 13% of the learning process. It might not sound much to you, but in the scheme of things, it's 51 days of instruction. You send now these 4th graders to these 4 5th grade teachers and you have more disparity in the classrooms, both academic and behaviorally. And that's why we have to make sure that those routines and expectations are there so that we increase that instructional time. A 75-minute math block needs to be 75 minutes, not 42 minutes, because routine expectations aren't in place. And that's what we're working toward. And we now know that down the future, as we can compare apples to apples in Oshkosh, we will be able to have it that we're also increasing test scores. As far as fidelity checks, is that me?
Yep. Keep going, baby.
Keep going, baby. Okay. We have fidelity checks both academically and behaviorally in the state of Wisconsin. And behaviorally, we have it for student data and we have it for adult data. And what I did is I contacted Justin Poulos, who's been our director since 2009, and said, just give me some global statements right now that we could take to the board. And what he gave us is we're starting to collect data in Wisconsin. And this is a sampling from 65 schools now around the state of Wisconsin. We have 1,348 instructional hours gained from reductions of ODRs. That's 207 school days. In other words, if within a school day, and we'll just take South Park Middle School because that's the first one I thought of, if they have a reduction in ODRs, we're giving time back to the instructional leaders to lead the school and teachers to teach. And let's be very honest, in most cases, the students that are pulled for making poor choices and have an office referral are the children that might not have the best test scores. I'm not saying that for sure, but we can make some assumptions here. And it's huge knowing that an instructional time has taken place. We are also learning in the state of Wisconsin that reduced suspensions and suspension gaps for students of color are decreasing. A sad fact, which our school board and you guys know, and our leadership knows, is in Wisconsin, children of color are being suspended and expelled 8 times the national rank. We need to fix that in Wisconsin. We have increased percent. We have an increased percent of third grade students right now that are scoring proficient in reading over the past 3 years in those 3 schools. And like I said, right now, for those 65 schools that were sampled, we are reducing our suspensions and expulsions of children of color, which I think is really important.
And again, just to give our short history, in 2012, we had 8 sites trained. 2013, 1 additional, 7 additional, and 2 sites. Our 2 high schools just finished training this year. I came on board in 2012, started just as a .2, just supporting this framework, and my passion was, being an educator in the district this long, this was one initiative that was different because of the data piece, and that it was really showing, and that it wasn't a program, and it was something that everyone can do in their own way, because it's just your way of doing business at your site. And I also didn't want it to be, for the people that have been in the district a long time, another bandwagon, something that got started and didn't finish. And so I was very passionate, and I was very glad to have Kim and Linda and the people that came on board to see us through. And we're in really strong shape right now. Bringing Gary on board was huge. I did a lot of begging. Gary drives from Shawano, so it's a bit of a drive. And our leadership team was formed in 2013-14, and then this year it's quite expanded. We have about 20 members that meet monthly to make decisions. I know you received a handout in your packet, and this was kind of eye-opening for us, that when we looked at our calendars to see what we have done every month, it was pretty inclusive. Again, as Gary said, adult capacity is what we really wanted to focus on this year. So we've attended PTO meetings, citywide PTO, gone to most of the schools and done staff boosters, refreshers. We've trained, Gary has trained, and we've worked with Boys and Girls Club. Very excited about that. They're going to kick off their summer session with that. We've presented with Lighted Schoolhouse, after-school programs, extended bus drivers.
Thank you.
Yes.
It takes time.
I know, but I got that. Yes, Corbison bus drivers. Gary trained all. Yeah, let's just move right along.
Not with great enthusiasm. They did.
You were enthusiastic.
Yes, but not the.
I was enthusiastic.
I was very enthusiastic. Gary trained all of the county social workers. We're continuing to work with 4K and just many, many things. We have, well, that's coming up, where at directions we still want to go.
And both police departments want on board.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Good. Great.
And now our students that have been waiting this long,
Yes.
we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for waiting.
We have Lauren. Well, I'll wait till you kids get up here and have a seat, please.
They've been so gracious and patiently waiting.
Yes.
And I'll say your names. I'm not sure which order you're in, if you want to just let them know. So we have Lauren Singstock and Garrett Yates from Carl Traeger Middle School. And Carl Traeger Middle School is in their first year of implementation. They're going to tell you some good things. Brianna Clues and Mathina Higgins. And Merrill Middle School, which is in their third year of implementation. Thank you.
So a new thing that we have at Traeger is called Traeger Life. It's our kind of new motto, Traeger Life, live it. And what Traeger Life stands for leadership, integrity, forthright, and environment. And it has been a very fun kind of year so far, just learning this new kind of way to of behavioral stuff.
That's basically how we're expected to act every day. Use that in our, not only our school life, but outside of school too. We learn to use that. So, do you want to talk about life roots?
So, there's a way for doing stuff good at our school. You get rewarded for things you do really good at. So, if you help somebody pick up their stuff, if they dropped it on the floor or something, you get something that's called a life loot. And that life loot you put into this big bin, and like every month or so, they do a drawing during your lunch hour while you're eating lunch, and they do a bunch of drawings for little prizes, and it's kind of interesting to see if it's going to be you or if it's going to be somebody else, and sometimes it can be nerve-wracking because some of them can be really good prizes.
What I was gonna say is when we're rewarded for this, we try and do this stuff to help others and stuff to get rewarded for it. And then it just kind of becomes a habit. So you just kind of do it and you don't have to get rewarded for it. And you do it in school and outside of school, and you just learn to do it. Yeah.
One other super fun thing that this has brought to our school is we have these really awesome assemblies that we do really fun games, like Minute to Win It, if you've ever heard of that. It's a very fun kind of, it was a kind of game, it's like a game show almost. And you, like the life loots, you put life loots in the bin, and then you get drawn out of the bin to come down and play or be a part of the games. And so it's super fun to watch people try to do all these crazy things, and it's just a great time and a bunch of laughter and a bunch of students having a great time.
It's not only fun for the people participating, but it's also fun for everyone to watch and just all be together enjoying all that.
Another thing is on our field trips, we sometime last year and the year before that, we sometimes had some behavioral issues. But at the beginning of the year, they made it really clear to us on the behavior we should have on the bus. And so on field trips this year so far, I think we've been doing an outstanding job so far at meeting those standards. It's been helping us a lot.
Well, we are both 8th graders at Merrill Middle School, and our program has been going on for 3 years. So since we started, we wouldn't know Merrill without it, and it's a big part of our everyday. Ever since 6th grade, at the beginning of the year, we have many assemblies where we go over the expectations, and we learn about something called an RE3, which is a ticket that you receive when you do the right thing or follow the RE3 way, which is respect education, respect environment, and respect everyone. And with those RE3s, there are many different things you can win. Every Friday, we get, during lunchtime, we get to go down and put it in, and you can win various sorts of things, from candy to gift cards to actual money, and also during assemblies you can win lots of things.
And all the different RE3 things that you can do with the RE3s, they vary from every grade. So in 6th grade, the RE3s are more concentrated, but in 7th grade, they have what they call I-Plan tickets. And you get them for writing in your agenda, for doing the right thing, such as helping somebody when they need help or helping a teacher. And at the end of the week, on Friday, there's a drawing just in 7th grade, and you get what's called an I-Plan shirt. And there's also candy and everything. And the I Plan shirt, if the people who earn it wear it the first day of every month, then you get the surprise for planning. And it is also carried on into 8th grade, but RE3 tickets aren't completely as common because we are expected to follow the rules. But the nice thing is, in 6th and 7th grade, because we were taught how to plan and how to do everything, every Thursday each home base gets a chance to plan the activity in the morning, and it ranges from showing pictures of staff members and trying to guess who it is to going in the gym and having a lightning competition. Also, personally, my favorite thing is what is called the Knock Your Socks Off students, which is chosen for the students that go above and beyond the expectations. And every month there's assembly held called Pack the Gym, where those students get a VIP sitting, and then they get to meet certain people such as Jack Frost. Sometimes there's clowns. They're rewarded, put in, and they can win other things, and then they are recognized for what they do, and all the students at the school get to clap for them, and it's just a nice way to recognize the students that go above and beyond.
And also at these Pack the Gyms, we have games as well, and we have competitions, and it's very fun feeling, and it's great to enjoy all that with your school, knowing that you all did the right thing.
Nice.
Like,
questions?
Thank you for coming
Yes.
and being so
Yeah, very
patiently
definitely.
waiting.
Yeah, thanks for waiting. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Great presentation.
The next section, we have a video clip that we want to show you. Many of the schools have done lots of fun videos, so this is just one that we'd like to share with you from Reed Elementary, and they are in year 3 of implementation.
One way of teaching the social skills lessons so they apply within school and community.
Please work. Oh, there it goes.
I'm getting there. The sound is here.
it's not on the desktop.
And we'll wait for sound.
And we'll rewind.
Would you have a copy of that handout she referred to?
On the desktop computer.
Where's the speaker?
Thank goodness these guys are here.
There you go.
Never works when it's on mute.
There we go.
Thank you.
That was cute. Well done.
And we received a lot of, we shared some positive outcomes from the schools. And just really quickly, I'll talk about 2 of them. Emmeline Cook, in their 3rd year of implementation, has had a significant decrease in office discipline referrals. And we were just there yesterday doing an observation. That's something I didn't mention before, too. We've been asked to come into schools and do playground, lunchroom, hallway, to look at their systems in place. And we were there yesterday, and it was amazing. South Park Middle School, we went and did a presentation to their paras, and we got this email the next day. After your paraprofessional presentation, I tried the positive, active supervision strategies that you taught us. It was a success. The heavens opened, rained down smiley faces, and my stress level went from an 8 to a 2 that day. And I'm sure the student stress level went down as well. Good stuff.
As far as commitment from the Oshkosh Area School District, we know nationally and in Wisconsin that school districts are not going to be successful unless we look at priority of school goals. We make sure we have administrative support, financial resources are allocated, and that leadership is there. And we have all that from Oshkosh right now. We are committed here by making sure that leadership and site principals support that framework, making sure that a coordinator is hired. That's me. That we finally created a budget for the 2015-2016 school year. And we have to acknowledge that PBS is a framework that's an important goal with everything else that's happening in the school setting. Like I said, when our students leave, we need to make sure that they're prepared for the workforce, for the military, trade school, and college. Those are their only avenues. And they have to be successful both academically, behaviorally, socially, emotionally. Key steps, as far as next steps right now, we've got high hopes and big plans again for the upcoming school year. I'm not going to read all of them to you, but highlight a few. On August 5th, we're going to have our first annual PBS Institute. It's going to be on August 5th. Our keynote is Kent Smith, who is one of our leaders in not only Wisconsin, but the United States on cultural responsiveness. That's our focus for it. We'll have breakout sessions for the morning that staff members can go to with work time in the afternoon for action planning. You'll be invited, obviously, down the road by invitation, so look for that. We have to build our capacity and our leadership by going elsewhere, and the Wisconsin PBS Leadership Conference is August 18th and 19th. The reason why we like sending people there is the big gurus for PBS all over the nation come to Wisconsin because they love what we're doing here. There's not one that doesn't come here. So it's just as important as going to the National in October. They're all here in Wisconsin. We're working on a logo. We're working with the Chamber of Commerce. We're constantly creating artifacts and resources. And next year, we have a whole boatload of professional development opportunities that we'll build in the schools so that we're building our repertoires and giving technical assistance. Very quickly, just if you wanted to go to the websites, I just wanted to make sure you understood what they were. If you go to the pbs.org, that is our national website where phenomenal resources are there. The pbsapps.org, that's all the surveys that we give both to our adults to check the pulse and check for our fidelity. The Wisconsin PBS Network is self-explanatory. We hope in the near future when you click to PBS in Action after May, we have right now 8 schools that are applying for Wisconsin School of Merit and of Distinction for PBS, and some of them get that award, so we can toot that. PBS Maryland, the reason why I put that up there is it's all public domain for PBS, and we steal from Maryland. Maryland is just the leader of everything, and anything that's in Maryland is in Appleton, it's in Oshkosh, it's all over the United States. Obviously you give people credit and stuff, but we don't reinvent the wheel. It's all about being smart. So if you went there, anything that's created for any school is on that website. And behaviordoctor.org, the reason why I put that up there is Dr. Laura Riffles out of the University of Kansas, and she's got a whole website that allows teachers to go there for resources. A teacher can say, this happened in my classroom today, put it on the wall, and teachers can respond and say, have you tried this, have you tried that, and it's a really nice place to go for, again, technical assistance.
Okay.
The questions?
May I just add the work that these 4 individuals in front of you, along with our principals and our outstanding teachers in participating in learning, have been it is just marvelous across the district to watch the progress we're making, particularly with the issues that I know you as board members have heard about on disruptive behaviors earlier this evening, on issues regarding mental health and recognition of teachers and support in this area. But Gary and Margie, in their presentations, as you probably know, the acoustics in this building are such that I can pretty well hear what's going on in this boardroom in the office at all times. And the reality is when you have middle school and high school teachers in here roaring with laughter, being positive, listening, hearing what's going on, being engaged, and when I walk in that back door to watch what they're doing, and they're smiling, and they're happy, and it's because of all-star teachers teaching them these new skills to work with students. It's just really exciting, and my compliments to Gary and Margie, but from the leadership from both Linda and Matt, but for all our principals who actively, as they said, engage in leading across the district and being invited to numerous of these celebrations of students succeeding. We're changing the direction of how we respond and giving teachers more time to teach. And that investment is fabulous. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In addition to Mr. Mack's comment, I'd like to thank you for the awesome presentation. But more specifically, I was wondering what aims you take to actually reduce the referral rate at Merrill, and how much was it reduced by the previous year? I guess other than with the students, was it management, administrators?
Cindy, you can probably speak to Merrill, certainly. So when we said ODR in the slide, that's office discipline referral, when he referred to that before. So I think the big thing that happens with PBIS and to reduce the office discipline referrals is what we do at the start of the school year to kind of level the playing field. We teach all of the expected behaviors that we want to see from students, and we teach them that first week, and then we do reteaching throughout the school year, especially after a long break. When we come back from spring break, we do a lot of reteaching about what it looks like to walk down the hallway. One of the big changes that I'm in my 4th year, so this is our 3rd year of PBIS at Merrill. I think one of the biggest changes that I saw, and it's such a simple thing, but walking on the right-hand side of the hallway.
Wes needs to learn that.
Yeah, but when you all do that, traffic flow is so nice. And it decreases the amount of problems that just happen by accident, and truly by accident, because if we didn't all drive on the right side of the road here with our cars, we would have problems. Right. So it helps make things easier as a systems approach. Kind of what Gary was saying, those procedures and processes that need to be set up. We review at the start of the school year how to do things in the cafeteria, how to ride a bus. A lot of our Merrill students don't ride a bus, only when they go on field trips. So we review that at the start of the school year so they know the expectations. We have voice level practices, so that I don't have to say be quiet. I can say voice level 0, and everybody knows what that means. It means you stop talking. At least everybody at Merrill knows what that means. Yeah. You'll know what that, Wes will know what that means next year.
I'm going to take it a step further. One thing that we've taught the schools to do through our coaches that work with our administrators is, instead of looking at data and just making a guess, we think we have a problem, this is what the problem is, we ask them to create a precision statement. Who's doing it, what's happening, where's it happening, time, and then how you're going to problem solve it. So when their data comes to their PBS meeting, they have a statement that says, at Merrill, in the hallways, 2nd floor, whatever that might be. Right. And that's how lessons are created to problem solve and increase social competencies.
Okay, so an advancement technique. And one quick tangent off that would be, with the high school systems, is there any different way in your program that you would aim to deal with high school students with the age gap difference?
At elementary and middle school, you need to know that when we implement the framework, it's all in all environments. At the high schools, your schools are going to look different because it's rolled out in pieces. High schools, because they're so large, might have that they're just going to tackle language, hallways, commons, or might be truths, So right now, I'll be very honest, we just finished training last week with the high schools. Their plans that they're rolling out are phenomenal, I believe. So it's going to be really exciting when they kick it off in the fall, that all staff members and all students are going to be speaking the same language and be held to the same expectations.
I like that approach, yeah.
Thank you for the questions.
Barb, did you have a question?
I did, thank you. On page 2 of your staff report, under section 5, budget financial, excuse me, I couldn't find an explanation of what CEIS is.
And I apologize for that. So CEIS is the Coordinated Early Intervening Services, and that's part of our set-aside of our IDA or our flow-through grant money. We have to set aside because of our disproportionality, which is linked to our suspensions and suspending children of color, also EBDs. So we have to put a set-aside. So that's how we've 100% funded it up until this point. We know that research tells us we have to absorb some in our school budgets. They have to take some responsibility, as well as the leadership has to pledge to say, yes, we're going to move this forward with fidelity. So we're still taking a chunk out of coordinated early intervening services, which comes out of special ed, but then we're supplementing to or owning it as a district at the building sites. The principals are budgeting line items for it as well.
Okay. So under year 2 then, that net budget impact, under year 1 that showed CEIS, but it doesn't show that in year 2. So is that district
Year
dollars?
2 will have to be general fund or fund
Okay.
10 instead of, the 27.
Okay. And I would imagine that training will be an ongoing need with this program, with staff changes and so on. Would you project there would be a decrease in the need for substitutes over time as compared to the amount of training that's gone on over the last 2 years?
And the reason being is because we have the coaches in the school that we're making sure that we're building that fidelity to, so they're the ones that are bringing it in through their own site staff development or bringing back the message to the buildings.
Sure.
A lot of our presentations that we're creating right now, and then we're going to have them next year, are monthly themes after school. So September might be mental illness, October might be active supervision, so that people can come to short stints of it and not have to sit through a long presentation. I talk very fast. I get a lot done in 45 minutes.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for a good report. I know that PBIS is mentioned here and there. I thank you for a well-organized report that I think should answer a lot of questions out in the community and perhaps with board members as well. So
I appreciate it. Back to Shadow.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next workshop, 10-year capital improvement plan, Jim Fox and Sue Schnorr.
Good evening. A couple board meetings ago, we did a workshop on Fund 46. It's that capital expansion fund that was created by the state legislature this last year. And basically what Fund 46 allows you to do is it allows you to make a transfer from your general fund to Fund 46. It's aided in the equalization aid formula the year you make the transfer. But once the money is in Fund 46, it has to be used for capital improvement. It has to sit there for at least 5 years after the creation of the fund. And it requires that you have a 10-year capital improvement plan that's approved by the school board. Okay. In my experience, I'm used to having a 5-year plan. 10 years is really a long time. It's a long time out. And usually capital improvement plans aren't board approved because they're fluid documents. They're constantly changing based upon the needs in the district, the resources you have available. So rarely are they actually formally board approved, but this Fund 46 requires that the board approve the 10-year capital improvement plan. So tonight, our goal really isn't to go over every school and every building with you, but Jim's going to talk a little bit about the procedures he went through to develop the plan, the rubrics he's using to prioritize the plan.
Thank you. Yeah, to take advantage of this Fund 46, really we needed to get to a point where we could find a mechanism to collect all the data as best we could in the time frames that we had. So what we did is we asked all the building administrators to scour their buildings. They all had information, capital improvement ideas, things that were in progress. So we asked administrators, we asked support staff, we utilized vendors that were current under contract or people that were here doing repairs. What are you seeing? What's going on? We utilized McKinstry. A lot of different people who had their hands in OASD doing a lot of different things, a lot of different perspectives, and they funneled all that information back to the maintenance department. And what I tried to do is I created a spreadsheet with multiple tabs to highlight all that information. This is really the summary sheet of all those various tabs across the bottom, and in your handout you'll see that there's a separate tab for each individual building. And what we've asked is as you review each individual building, you can really briefly see their needs. As you go across some of the newer buildings, Jefferson and Oak Lawn, you're going to see many less needs, which clearly would be the case. Some buildings that have not been touched yet by McKinstry, you're going to see more needs. You're going to see some infrastructure needs, roofing needs. You will also see tabs generalizing maintenance requirements. There's a separate tab for vehicles, equipment, one tab for hardscape, which is asphalt, roofing, a separate tab for, well,
Equipment?
Equipment, well, I had mentioned equipment, but I tried to break it out in a logical way that we could generalize yet be somewhat specific, so you could identify a particular area if you were looking for a school, or if you're looking for maintenance equipment, or if you're looking at parking lots or roofing. And then we try to pull all that data together into a again, a general summary sheet. But we also utilized, it's difficult then to look at that data and try to understand, well, what should we do first, what should we do second? So we tried to create some sort of a rubric. And as you look at an individual school, in no particular order, we can pick North, but really we look at all their needs and we try to identify, well, why? What should we do first? What should we do second? And through each individual building, whether it's a maintenance need, whether it's a school need, whether it's a non-school building, we ask ourselves, is there a safety issue? Is there a hazard? Is there a ADA issue that we really need to comply with? Is it something that's going to cause an imminent problem? It may be a roof leak that we can tackle with general maintenance, but should it fail, is it going to cause more damage, structural damage, damage to technology? I think that's something that we need to know. Is it something that's going to provide a return on investment? Is it an efficiency measure where we may see savings through electrical, or perhaps it's something tied to an academic program where we're going to be able to see gains? And then lastly, is it just an aesthetic improvement? And it's important to note that although we do want to see, obviously a safety issue is perhaps more important than a coat of paint on a corridor, this is not necessarily the order that we're going to do these projects in. And as you see, as you review your packet, painting corridors and maintaining our facilities and keeping our carpet in good repair is every bit as important. But we do want to be able to highlight that if we have a bad set of bleachers at North that may represent a safety hazard, or if we have an outside set of bleachers where someone has been injured, those things really should come to the forefront of our audit, and really as a maintenance department, as a facilities department, we really should be focusing some of our energy and some of our finances toward repairing and maintaining those things, and they ought to come to the forefront of our attention as well. Last item I want to point out is that this is a dynamic plan. It is not static. It is going to change. It'll probably change for my department several times a month as things are taken care of, solved, completed. I will eliminate them. As we find new things, we'll add them. As new things are brought to my attention, they may change from a 2 to a 1, from a 4 to a 1. I think every year it's to our benefit to review this with the school board and review this with administrators. But understand that this really is a framework that will be constantly under revision, as it should be.
I love this. This is an enormous amount of work. I happen to live and die by spreadsheets, and this, I was like drooling when I got this. This is such a good piece of work, so I just wanted to thank you. I don't know how long this took you, but this is awesome. And it's very clear, and anything you could ever want is in here, so thank you.
Jim spent a great deal of time.
I can imagine.
Very impressive.
It is an outstanding document. I realize, of course, that it is going to be fluid and that.
Yeah.
Is there a recommendation, if the board were to approve this long-term plan, is there a recommendation for a monetary amount to put in there to activate Fund 46 and capitalize on the 52% of state aid?
Well, I think we can come back maybe in a month to either take it to facility and finance, or as part of maybe a budget workshop to look at what kind of a year end we're going to have. Our budget is looking really good at this point, but there's a lot of spending that goes on in April. I think by the end of April, we'll probably have a recommendation of how we're going to end the year, and we'll come forward with a recommendation as to how much what seed money you want to put in over there.
Good.
I would just like to echo the comments of positiveness. This document is what I was used to in the past, because under the Minnesota system, in order to have what was called alternate to facilities investment, you needed to have a 10-year plan and a floating one, and I always heard all the pieces and parts of our needs. This is the first time in 3 years that I have a comprehensive list of all of our needs, and everything is a crisis when it's not put together in an organized fashion. In this way, we can plan for our crises as they come. So, thank you, Jim.
The challenge will be is each year there's a recommended list of things to do, and Jim's budget isn't big enough to cover those things. So it'll constantly be shifted every year, just because his annual budget isn't even enough to cover what should be done.
I also wanted to say thank you. I know that the topic of the 10-year facilities plan has come up, I believe, at the board meeting, and I know it also came up at facilities and finance. And we actually, as a board, saw this report on April 1st, and I was amazed at the turnaround time, because even though I don't drool over those, I try not to, I do appreciate spreadsheets and the ability to look at things. I believe that this also sets a great tone for the last word in the document, which is plan. And I'm not suggesting that others have not planned, but there have been instances over the last 20-plus years I've been affiliated with a school district where definitely, I think in hindsight, we can say that maintenance in particular was underfunded. And at the same time, the district has made commitments to maintaining older buildings, and I appreciate that. Smith School, I think, dates back to 1895. I think of North High School as new, and yet it was built in 1972, so it's over 40 years old, and I see, new science equipment. I'm speculating that some of the things in these buildings, whether they're 40-some years old or maybe over 100 years old, are original equipment, certainly original floor tile and so on. And just as all of us want to maintain our homes, we have to plan ahead for maintenance and repair and upgrades, and so I'm really happy to see this report and appreciate the diligence that went into this and the turnaround time from when facilities and finance suggested we needed this to you're actually being able to share that with the board. So thanks to both of you.
And Dr. Herzog's comments about older facilities. 2 years ago, we were identifying, a year ago, that our average age was 74 years, and now we've moved to 75 years on our facilities. So we must have it would be interesting to compare among the oldest collection of buildings in operating condition, in good operating condition in the state of Wisconsin.
And I believe, I would just like to add to that over the years, there have been some excellent people who have filled both of your positions, as well as people in the schools who have taken great pride in maintaining those facilities, people on the sites or within the maintenance department who have created the repair parts because they were so old they couldn't be purchased anymore. And so I think we owe a great debt in this community to people who have filled your chairs in the past and those folks at the school level who have made sure that we've been able to really stretch the taxpayer dollar to make the boilers or whatever it was last much longer than their anticipated life.
We'll bring a motion at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Workshop 3, adoption of a new learning management system, LMS. Thank you for the understanding what an acronym means prior to actually using it. Parallel one-to-one implementation. David and Julie.
Okay, we'll keep this short because that was the marching orders, so we'll keep rolling through this. Basically, what we wanted to do is talk to you a little bit about a learning management system adoption that we are recommending for the school district that will go in tandem with our personalized learning initiative. Basically, we want to talk a little bit about how does it align to that personalized learning initiative. We want to look at, what is an LMS, explain that to folks, because not everybody really just gets what that is and why that's important. What was the selection process? What were the results? What's the recommendation? Then, of course, open it up to any questions. So if you recall, there really are 4 phases of our move to a personalized learning environment. The first phase has occurred over the past few years, which is a state-of-the-art infrastructure. We've rated very well. Even in the Bright Bites survey, the access has been one of our highest scores. The phase 2 is embedded professional development, the hiring of the technology integrators, making sure that they're there to work with the teachers and support the teachers as they go through this transition. Phase 3 we did last November, where we provided staff with the technology in advance of the students, and now we're moving into what we call phase 4, where we're providing the students with the access to the technology. So what we did over the past 9 months is we've had the District Technology Committee that's been working at all the hundreds of tasks that have to be done in order to carry this off. We've met with a lot of different districts that simply just back the truck up and here's the Chromebooks and off they go. And they've been able to achieve some levels of success. We feel that by breaking them down into these various teams and making sure as much of the work as possible is done in advance, we hopefully will be able to support our teachers a little bit better and make it a little bit more of a smooth transition for everyone. Well, Team 1, so we took that 29-member District Technology Committee, and we broke them up into 7 different action teams and then sent them off to do their work. And we've been bringing them back together monthly, and we're within sight of the finish line now. But Team 1, and the 2 leaders of Team 1 are here as well today, were charged with selecting a learning management system. So what they ended up doing was, this was sort of their marching orders. They had to review learning management system options that might be available. They had to determine the value add to teachers, students, and parents. Now those are 2 different colors for a reason, because we stopped at that point, because we very well could have came away and said, yeah, we don't need one. We already kind of have some types of learning management systems in the district. We're using Google Sites for some things. We're using Edmodo, some free services. We're using all sorts of things here right now. So do we really need to go down the road of a unified learning management system? And what we found from a lot of the districts that were ahead of us on the one-to-one train, those who didn't wish they did, and those who did were glad they did. So we said, okay, looks like we got to keep moving. So the team had to create a rubric to review all the available options. They had to determine some top candidates, because there's quite a few different vendors out there. So which ones do you bring in? You have to create an RFP. Establish the selection committee, set up the demos, analyze the systems, get budget, and proposals, and then come to you with the presentation of some of the information. So with that, I'll hand it off to Corey and Christy, and they can go through some of what is a learning management system and some of the components as far as the value add. How does this bring value to the student, the teacher, and the parents?
So a learning management system is a way to simplify and organize all of the digital learning platforms that teachers are providing for their students. So it takes all of those tools that teachers are using and pulls them into one location, so that students are going to one place and teachers are going to one place and parents are going to one place. So if you find a really quality learning management system platform, it should allow you to create an environment in your existing classrooms that allows teachers to use technology in engaging ways, but it should also support what you want your classroom to look like 2-3 years down the road. So as we were looking at the different platforms, these were the things that we were looking for. Can it enhance and extend student learning in a traditional classroom? Most of our classrooms at this point are traditional, and so we wanted to make sure that there was an immediate add to the classroom that we have currently. But then also looking ahead, could it, in the event that we went down this road, support hybrid courses so that students could attend class face-to-face sometimes or in the LMS at other times? Would it allow for competency-based courses, so students creating coursework based on skills acquisition and moving at their own pace? Could we use it to deliver online courses that are fully online if we decided to do that at some point in a different manner? And then can it provide high-quality audio and visual accommodations for all types of learners, both for our regular ed learners and for our special ed learners.
And so the biggest part that we were looking for was what benefits is it going to have for students, and that's what we started off with. And we actually, you saw a list of different tasks that we had. The first task we really did was kind of create that rubric before we even really looked at any of the companies. We wanted to figure out what are the needs that we actually have, what are the needs of students, and so on and so forth. And how can we address those? So that rubric really guided us to figure out which companies to actually look at to begin with. One of the things we noticed as we visited other school districts is the ones that have not gone with learning management systems, especially in the secondary, students go to many different classes, and if one teacher decides they want to use one tool with a certain login, for example, that student has to remember that login and be able to log into that particular place, use that tool, figure out how the notifications work, and so on and so forth. Then they go to second period. At second period, it's a different tool with a different teacher who wants to do something that's very similar maybe to first period, but with a totally different protocol. By third period, fourth period, you get the idea. So not only is it becomes very, very challenging for those kids to be able to keep up with all of those notifications and all that kind of stuff. So the learning management system, it really basically for the students, it brings everything together for them into one location. And we'll talk about the parent one in just a minute, but the parents finally have a place too that's shared with what their students have, so it's easier to keep track of. They're able to get to content and materials that they need for learning that teachers are able to post and place up there. Students are able to create and connect with each other through the learning management system, in particular the one that we're looking at, Canvas. They're even able to do sort of WebEx type things where they can actually have conferences with one another. Throughout that as well, they can demonstrate their proficiencies. There's actually a mastery learning gradebook that's within it. And then they're also able to have what we call personally organizing their learning space. So they can sort of go at their own pace in some cases. They have a little bit more voice into what they choose to use. So there has a lot of personal responsibility benefits for students as well.
So the next piece then is how does the LMS support teachers? It has a number of functions that support learners, and teachers are learners just as our students are. So a lot of these you'll see that there's overlap between how it's supporting our staff and how it's supporting our students. But it allows teachers to create and deliver dynamic content aligned to the standards. So it allows for sharing and use of all sorts of different digital media, not just a place to store documents, but a place to share videos, a place to link to interactive discussion boards. It increases student participation in a variety of contexts. It gives our students ways to capitalize on strengths of theirs by submitting different types of digital media, but it also gives teachers opportunities to challenge students and try to get them to try things that are a little bit outside of their comfort zone. We can assess student performance and give highly personal feedback. So unlike a paper that a student might submit to you where you write your handwritten comments, through the LMS you can leave video comments for students, you can leave audio comments for students, and just in talking to teachers that have used an LMS that has that functionality, students feel like video and audio comments are much more personal. They feel like they have a connection with the feedback that they're getting from their teacher as opposed to seeing a score, just simply a score on a rubric or a written comment. And teachers have reported that that's actually a much faster way to give kids feedback rather than having to try to handwrite it or even type it, to be able to click a button and speak to your students. It allows us to personalize the learning space for students in groups. So it allows you to push out assignments to students individually or by group or by whole class. So you could divide your class into different groups based on learning style, based on specific learning needs, and push out individual assignments to them based on what they need most. And then the last piece that identifies our teachers as learners as well is that it allows them to engage in meaningful PD and collaboration from anywhere at any time. So just as teachers can be a teacher of a course, they can also be a student of a course in the same management system.
And some of the benefits we've already talked about have a pretty a significant impact on parents. And one of those, Christy had talked about the way that you can personalize your space. And one of the things that this does really well is it personalizes the way you have notifications and the way it communicates with you. So parents will actually have the ability to choose how they want to be communicated with, basically. So if they use text messaging, or if they use email, or if they use Facebook, or however it is that they prefer to be connected with, this learning management system will accommodate them in that way, which is pretty awesome. The other part of it is that if a teacher does leave some of the audio feedback, video feedback, rubric feedback, all of that kind of thing, the parents are actually able to access that information. They're able to access what their particular student turned in, how the teacher responded to it, what the scores were like, how it changed, sort of like a history of their interactions in that class, which I think is a really important aspect. If parents decide they want to be involved, they actually have the ability to be involved in that way. If they want to ignore it, they have the choice to ignore it in that way. There's very easy to read reports as far as the grades and standards mastery, so you can really see how a student is progressing, and parents can have a better idea, because sometimes the standards-based part of it is a little bit challenging for parents to grasp. So this is a much easier way to break that down. And then they also can kind of see just the, I think I talked about that a little bit, but just to see like the order of their courses and all of what's going on in this course at that time. So I can really connect parents. And I think when those other school districts that decide not to go this route and they just choose whatever free tool is out there, it's much worse for the parents than it is for the students. Even in that, the parents have absolutely no idea how to connect with what at any point in time. And so they feel very, very lost in the number of tools that are out there.
So how does LMS work with curriculum materials in the Oshkosh Area School District? Well, first off, all of our courses start with standards. So whether you're in, first grade literacy or you're in 12th grade English class, all of our courses, and we start with our standards. From there, we pick curriculum materials, resources, etc., that help align to that and help instruct our students in those standards. Those practices are still going to be in place, but one additional step we're going to have to look at is how do our curriculum materials, our resources, interact with the learning management system. And so we will be looking at our currently adopted materials and how can we take them and use them within our current learning management system, or the new learning management system, where we can either reference them, link them, upload them, etc. And so we already have resources that already have technology components to it. For example, our math curriculum in 6 through 12 already has e-books, e-textbooks, and we will be researching how do we link that up and give students access that way within our learning management system. And when we look for future curriculum resources, a common question always asked is, well, this means there's no more textbooks. Well, not exactly. There's always going to still be a need for our paper books and our different modalities of learning. But the thing is that when we look for curriculum resources, we're going to be still expending dollars and budgeting for curriculum resources. It's just going to be in a different way. Think about how we shifted from purchasing paperback books to purchasing our books on an e-reader or on a tablet. So you're still paying for the content, you're still getting those resources. It's just delivered in a different way. And so as we select materials, and actually we have different departments and different areas that are actually up for curriculum adoptions, they have actually said that they want to hold and probably another year as they look at what is our learning management system, how will whatever materials they're going to choose interface with that before they actually make a choice. Our Spanish is one of those content areas that they said they absolutely want to hold right now, waiting for the learning management system. So definitely that's going to be one key component as we start to select resources in the future.
The next thing we want to do is have them talk a little bit about the LMS selection process and what they were thinking as they created the rubric.
So as Corey mentioned earlier, the first step in this process was to sit down and start thinking about what our look-fors were, and that meant having a lot of discussion about what is the most important thing that the learning management system needs to do in order for it to be something that we would consider adopting. And so before we ever looked at a single platform, we started figuring out what those things were that were important to us, and then also trying to rank those in importance so that we weren't just weighing everything equally, but that we had some particular things that we felt were more important than other things. And so this kind of breaks down our rubric, and it's very small and hard to see, and that's okay because Corey's going to walk you through the different parts.
Yeah, so we of course, as we talked about earlier, that our main audience here is our students, and so curriculum was our first thing we were thinking of, that it has to be, it has to support the curriculum that we currently have, and it can also be flexible enough to support new curriculum that comes along the line. But as we started to look through these particular systems, we found some of them are very powerful and very robust, but at the same time, they're quite difficult to use. It just seemed like, even though this particular system can do a lot of the things we're looking for, I just don't see any teachers actually touching it because it's going to take them 20 minutes to set up a discussion and think about how hard it will be to set up an actual project. So we had to kind of put ease of use right at the forefront there. It had to be intuitive. It had to be something that they were pretty used to, that they an interface that they could easily interact with. And then a very close second after that was the curriculum, to see, does it have something that allows us to continue with our vision of standards-based learning and supports that and keeps teachers on board with that. We have a lot of tools that we're currently using, and a lot of those tools are very good tools. We don't want to lose those good tools that we can work with. So we really wanted a program that could integrate well with lots of other things, was very flexible in its code, so we could take all kinds of stuff and put it in there. So integration was our third one. We wanted to make sure that Google Apps for Education and Gmail, all those kinds of things we're using, and also what Julie had mentioned, that we have CPM, we have some of these programs that are already out there. Canvas is very willing to work with all of those programs and personally contact them to try to figure out ways that they can integrate their existing material within the learning management system. Then we talked about the technical operations. One of the things we've noticed with lots of programs is that, I mean, when you get outside of our schools, parents and students own every type of device imaginable. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we were going with, it was going to work on whatever it is that they have. So it had to be web-based, it had to be mobile, it had to be lots of different flexibility within that, and we wanted to make sure that everyone was able to see it and that it looked pretty close to the same. The other issue that we've seen with certain programs is that when you're on a computer, it looks one way, but then when mom and dad go and grab an iPhone or whatever, it looks a different way. Canvas does a phenomenal job of keeping the interface looking almost exactly the same regardless of whatever device that you're on, and that became a pretty important feature for us. The final one was support, and Canvas is second to none. In fact, I have a small anecdote today as Christy and I were talking about this. I sat on their website for a little too long, about 2.5 minutes, and a chat popped up and said, "Hi, I've noticed you're here for a little while. Do you have anything that you have questions about?" And I was kind of like, wow, all right, I haven't even been paying a customer yet. That's neat. So anyway, it's interesting. They have a larger company than most of the ones that we took a look at. It seems like from what we've heard that a lot of the companies, you purchase it, they get you in there, and then it's kind of up to you to figure it out on your own. Canvas provides some significant flexibility with the support that you can purchase, but also they provide good support even for people who are not paying customers at this point in time.
So we took a look at 3 different systems. One is called Schoology, one is called It's Learning, and the other one that you've heard of is called Canvas. And we took a look at all 3. In your board packet, you saw the folks who were on the committee and the agenda, et cetera. All of them took that rubric, and we did an analysis of each one. And you have the detailed results in your packet. But what I thought I'd do is break it down a little bit and do more of a simple a diagram per se. I broke down each of the categories and each of the 3 vendors, and then I color-coded them. And as you can see here, Canvas is a clear winner. I mean, you know, there are some times that Schoology or It's Learning does a particular aspect well, but more often than not, Canvas is the one that's in the primary or secondary position. If you look on the next set under technical operations, integration, etc., it also was one of the leading one. So it became pretty clear pretty fast after we did an analysis and looked at the results in real time. The committee took hardly any time at all to go ahead and say their unanimous selection was Canvas. So then we always move into costs, and that's where I get involved. And what we sit down is we looked at the costs of the various systems, and you can see there that Canvas is not necessarily the cheaper system, but they were including what they call Tier 1 support. Now, what Tier 1 support does for us is it takes us from the base model of somebody getting back to you within a couple of days to getting back to you within 8 hours or possibly even 2 hours, depending upon the issue and who's calling in. There's a toll-free line. There's a whole bunch of ancillary options that they give you with the premium support. I think initially we typically buy that kind of a support to get us rolling, and then we analyze how much we use it over time. The good thing about this is we could scale that support off if we're not using it, in which case Canvas definitely becomes the least expensive option. But when you're buying software, it's always important to look at it not only year by year, but look at it over the long haul and what's the running cost of the software. Because some software may be really cheap to get into, but then they really ramp it up over time and they become the most expensive option. As Corey indicated, these companies want to get you in because once your teachers create the content and get them in the system, it's going to be really hard to leave. So we felt that was really important for us to look at that over the long haul. The second graph shows the running costs, and as you can see there, the Canvas cost, especially the one minus support, is definitely the least expensive option there as well. I don't anticipate us buying the premium support over the long haul, especially as our teachers get better at using it. I think there's going to be less and less of those types of how do I use this calls, and it'll probably be more of a if something indeed was not functioning. So our recommendation of the committee was unanimous that we select Canvas. We wanted to commit to a 3-year term at minimum. That is not for them, and that is not even for pricing. That is mainly for our teachers. If a teacher is going to take the time and put this in there, we want to make sure they can count on that tool for a minimum of 3 years. And if we still love it after those 3 years, we'll continue to negotiate and work with those companies. We're also recommending that we would initially buy the upgraded support, at least for the first 12 months, and then see how we like the product, how we're using it, make sure our teachers have the maximum support possible. So with that, I will open it up for any questions.
I just noticed quickly, thank you for this. This is exciting for someone who has used eCollege, Blackboard, and Desire to Learn. A user-friendly LMS would be priceless. I don't think Foliotech's gone to LMS yet, but they're on their way, I think. It says, though, that Schoology's won like all these awards. Like, what was it that differentiated Canvas from Schoology?
I'll let you guys answer, because I don't vote when we do these things. You know, I make sure they follow their own rules, and then I sit back and analyze, and then I negotiate usually with the company, and that seems to work really well, because I sort of am the RFP cop who works through the process. But
I was just curious, because it's got these awards.
There's a couple things. So some of them might be a little bit esoteric, like they kind of might seem like they're not that big of a deal. One of them, there are many, but I'll start with the Google Docs and Google Applications integration. So one of the things teachers have been looking for a very long time is to be able to take something as simple as I have a response from students, I want to grade it with a rubric, and I want to be able to provide some feedback right on there. So I want to have a rubric up here, student work here, and I want to be able to type on it and just be able to provide them feedback like I would if I were handwriting. When you went through the process of turning in a Google document, it converts it to Microsoft Word and Schoology, which then makes it, you're not able to place any comments on it on most devices. You have to have a Windows-based device to do that. So it really, that very simple process significantly limits how teachers will interact with student work, and it's something they're going to be doing every single day, you know, K-12 on multiple classes.
It also opened the student document and the rubric in 2 separate windows. So if you were a teacher assessing that piece of work, rather than having the rubric attached in the same window, you would be flipping back and forth between the student document and the rubric, which is...
That might seem small until you've done it 140 times.
With more than one.
Those are huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I've got at home like 2 monitors,
Yeah.
like one rubric. I would save me money if we could have that.
And I think the rubric-based grading in general was much better, much more robust in Canvas. And they have a system called Outcomes, where we're able to actually determine here's what a standard is, but also here's what it looks like if someone is doing that proficiently and who's doing it very, very well, or who maybe needs still more work on that. Those can be pre-uploaded into Canvas based on our specifications or national specifications or state level specifications. It really gave us a ton of control. So building a rubric and being able to track actual skills versus just assignments is much easier in Canvas than it was in school.
That's awesome to know. Maybe I have to do a plug
Yeah.
down the street.
From the student perspective, one of the other things that appealed to us about Canvas is that in any portion of the LMS where students were submitting work, they had access to the full and complete rich text editor, which also meant that they could attach a video, they could attach an audio comment. So that included everything from discussion boards to submitting feedback to their teachers or their peers. So when we started looking at students that might need accommodations to be able to participate in an online discussion, but through audio comments rather than written text, I mean, that it seems like a small detail, but when you think about how students and teachers might be using it, it's actually huge in terms of what they're able to submit for work.
Canvas also, just one final thing about it is that they really seem like they're at the forefront of educational technology, more so they're really looking at the learning side of things. And one of the things that they came up with and they showed us was an application that teachers could use on an iPad, an iPhone, whatever, or a number of other platforms, but it's the only one that I've seen that where a teacher can actually bring up some standards or some outcomes that they want to be looking for, or just informally mark whether or not it's happening as the two students are having a conversation. They're able to kind of scroll through an outcome and say, like, oh, I'm listening to that student performing this right now. I don't have to go through and have them turn it all in and grade it all. I can hear that this is competent right now. And it would be more used for formative assessment, but it was amazing how that could be. And that all gets pushed right back into the LMS. So there's a lot more ways for them to actually show evidence of student learning, which was.
And I believe they were also just selected by UW-Madison. They're now the new LMS for UW-Madison. So you may be
As we were going through this
seeing
process,
them
that
to
happened.
a university near you.
Could it happen?
So that was a important piece for us because that's a pretty large implementation, and that often signifies that they can handle us without a problem.
Wow, that's exciting to hear. Thank you.
Okay, so with the different LMSs, so how do you plan on actually intertwining all of this into like one? So is Canvas the all system, or is there does it entail different systems with that?
Well, the one thing we don't do, we don't usually tell teachers you can't use something. So if somebody is being very successful, they're currently using Google Classroom, the whole point of it is to offer them a tool and have them want to move to the new system. For example, we put in Google Apps, we still have Office on every computer. We haven't taken it away and said you can't use it. What we're finding is teachers are self-selecting because of the collaboration features to use Google Docs. We think we'll see the same thing. What we wanted to do was provide a consistent platform and provide the PD, because the professional development is more important than just about anything we do. And if we provide the professional development on how to use this, we align everything properly, make sure all the accounts come in properly, make it very easy to use. Honestly, I think what you'll eventually see is people will abandon some of the other separate options they're trying to cobble together on their own.
So your model then is to have like an ease transition rather than like, for example, like something to Skyward to Infinite Campus. It would rather be like a Google Doc transition choice to Canvas. And so again, would Canvas be the whole system then that creates that model of here's your one thing, but you can do everything else? Is that how it's laid out?
We're hoping, and that's why the integration piece was really important. Plus, I think you're going to see more of an integration of this at the high school, because that's where the one-to-one is hitting next year.
Right.
So that'll be another dynamic in all of this. And then we anticipate moving it down to middle school the next year. In fact, I fully anticipate the middle schools are going to come knocking at our door. In fact, they already have. Want to get it ahead of time, and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and just to put into perspective, when you all went to school, imagine if you could connect with your friends and do everything else, because like especially the Google Docs and although it's free, it's kind of like I can access anything at any time, and I guess that's where the future's head is, this anywhere generation. I think Canvas suits that, and I think that's just a step towards us just being ahead in Wisconsin and United States.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you because I take a French class that we watch a teacher at West on a TV, and she puts some assignments up on Google Classroom, and then sometimes she just talks to us. And I've also taken an online class, and all of those things are awful. So the fact that you have figured out and you actually took the time to figure out every frustration that a user might have is really nice. And I think that that will save a lot of griping next fall when all the students get it and realize that it isn't quite so bad as they thought it was going to be. So, thanks.
You're welcome.
And do you anticipate dropping the tech support after like a certain amount of years? Like, how long would you think that would take?
Well, they still provide a pretty good tech support. What we're doing is the extra cost really just shrink down the time and provide more phone support. So I would probably anticipate, I'm guessing at this point, but we certainly have the budget to continue to fund that support, but we will only fund it if we're continuing to use it, So my guess is we do it year one, we take a look at it year one and say, okay, as we roll this down to the middle school, hey, we didn't use it, so let's go back to the normal level of support and then divert those resources somewhere else.
I just wanted to say thank you for the work that went into this. It seems to be a very thorough application. And then I have one question under budget financial impact. You have the implementation costs at $8,500, and then the annual costs for the first year, you show a total of $27,995. However, the two numbers above the addition line only come to 19 and change. I think you double counted the 8,500 in there.
I can look at that and see that. Are you talking in the table on the
I'm talking
board
about
report?
the staff report.
Right.
Right. Because I added those numbers up that were highlighted, and I got 116,000 and change, and that was not the number above in the section where you were comparing the three. So
that could be because we changed this one right at the end because Canvas had a different cost structure
Sure.
that they came back with us at. So I'll take a look at that and we'll get that amended.
So if you're asking the board to support, I'm thinking it's that number above in the kind of the cranberry colored section, which
Yes.
was whatever, 103 and change or something.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we should note the fact that all of this investment is supported under the technology
Absolutely.
effort approved by voters
Referendum.
and
Very
referendum,
good.
and so it
Yep.
all lives within that budget. And
Nice.
and the good news is, as the cost of units, individual units decrease, we have the greater ability to invest in the support systems that are so necessary to make it productive.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't
we all?
too.
Further questions? Thank you.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Our fourth and final workshop of the evening.
That's for last.
Valley Area Reading Recovery Consortium.
Canvas is publicly
Kim
traded.
Brown, Deb Zarling, Julie Mosier, and Sue Schnorr.
If I would invest.
Hi, Deb Darling. I think you all know 4K literacy, or 4KK, or 4K5, it's getting late, literacy coordinator. And then we're also inviting Katie Hanisch and Mary Schmidt, and they are our reading recovery teacher leaders for additional questions as we go through the PowerPoint.
I don't know, you're way behind. Or way ahead, I should say. We wanted to take this opportunity tonight to just fill you in a little bit more on the Reading Recovery Program that has been a part of the Oshkosh Area School District for over 20 years. And also, fill in on, we are looking at taking over the
becoming the fiscal agent for the consortium. So wanted you to have that information. Okay, I want to start, as we know, as Tommy DePaula, who is a noted children's author, once said, you know, reading is the foundation of everything we do. Without being able to read and write, we don't learn much of anything. And so we always look at how do we help our students, our youngest students, become proficient and have a really good start. And that's what Reading Recovery is all about. As it has become even more important than ever before, because as they were just talking about, the more technology proliferates around us, the more information and knowledge is out there that we have to learn how to deal with. And we do that through communication, and reading, as we said, is the foundation for that. So Reading Recovery is designed as an early intervention program for our for kids as they come into first grade. We give them the chance in kindergarten. Kids come to us with all different levels of preparation for learning, for academic learning. We give them kindergarten, we work with them, and as they move into first grade, we're really aware of who are the kids who are going to struggle, and we want to catch them as soon as we can and provide them some good first instruction to help them have access to everything else that goes on around their classroom. So we have used the program Reading Recovery, as I said, for over 21 years. This is our 21st year here in Oshkosh. And we have consistent data from all of that time that shows that this program is successful with our students. And we want to see that continue. We basically target at-risk first graders, as I said. The students that we talk about in this presentation are the lowest 20% of the incoming first graders. They have already been through kindergarten. They are starting to struggle. And so we screen the kids and we look at who are the kids who are most at risk, and they are the ones who get this support. They receive 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week of intensive one-on-one instruction with a highly trained teacher. That intervention goes for 1 semester. Generally, they say 12 to 20 weeks is average. If the students have not, at 20 weeks, we do switch to another round of students. So basically, a teacher goes through 2 rounds of students each year. This takes up less than 40% or about 40% of the teacher's day. So it's not like they're spending all their day, the entire day one-on-one with kids. They then take that expertise back into the classrooms, into working with other students as well, and go on from there. As we said, 12 to 20 weeks in many cases accelerates those students so they are on average or above with their classroom peers. So it takes them from way below to at the level that they need to be. We do, of course, have some kids who don't accelerate at that level, but that lets us know that they're going to need longer-term support and gives us a good idea of what that support needs to look like. It is a part of our universal general education program. Students are not identified as having any kind of disability to have this program. It comes before that. Again, it's the lowest 20% of the class, though, who get this opportunity. And I should mention right here, this is totally funded through our Title I program. Because of that, it's only available in our Title I schools. So we do have a couple of schools that don't have this opportunity because we don't have the funding there for that. We are going, are you going to have to go to do this one? Okay. We're going to give you a real short look at what these 30-minute lessons look like. This is going to be just take you kind of through a lesson quickly. This lesson was actually taped just before spring break right here in one of our schools. So, oh, wonderful.
I was hoping Dr. Gunlove would be here.
Yes, that would be nice. Well, maybe we won't.
Well, we might send you this video so that you can watch that as soon as we figure out what's going on. What do you think, Ramona? We apologize. We thought this was going to be so great for you to take a peek.
Yeah, just to see. And I'll just, briefly say that the student goes, there is this a very predictable structure for the students as they come in. They read 2 or 3 books that are familiar to them so that they can practice the strategies they're learning, develop fluency and automaticity. The teacher then takes a running record, which is a formative assessment that informs her of what does the child use with, what is my instruction going to look like. They then do some isolated work with letters and words, learning how letters, how to make letters, what the letters are, what the words are, how to take words that they know to make new words, things like that. They then go into writing a story, because writing is a real strong proponent of helping kids understand how reading works. They are reciprocal processes, and it's very important that we keep them together. During writing, the kids really have to analyze what they're doing when they're reading. So, writing, you have to take those words apart just like you have to put them together in the reading. Then the teacher has chosen a new book that is on the child's cutting edge. She helps the child, she orients the child to that book, and at that time also teaching the child how to do that themselves. Just like when we pick up with something to read, we often look at the beginning of the book, or we think about the author that we know, or things like that, and we set ourselves up to read that book. We just don't pick it up and start reading. So it's teaching the child how to do that, and also giving them access to anything that might cause difficulty. For example, unusual language patterns, really tricky words, things like that. And then the child reads that new book with the help of the teacher. That new book then becomes the book the teacher does the running record on the next day. So in a nutshell, that's kind of that's the structure of the lesson. That's what the children go through every day. Obviously, the book is different every day, the things, what they're writing, what they're reading, the words they're working with, but the structure is there. That consistent structure, as they talked about, is so important for kids. What happens with those students, as I said, this is the lowest 20% of the class. On average, those students come in at about a mid-kindergarten level, sometimes even a little bit lower at the beginning of the year. And most of them make significant gains, more than a year's growth. Some of them, as you can see, most often those who actually really successfully complete the program will be reading well above a first grade level when they leave the program. All kids, though, have made gains. We have never seen a student who has left the 20 weeks of instruction without learning a significant amount that they can then put to use in whatever path they go to. And just to kind of show you what that means, this is an example of a level 2 book, which would be that mid-kindergarten when kids come in. They don't really have to, what we think of as formally read to do that. What they have to be able to do is remember that pattern, look at the picture, and notice which one word might be different each time. So, it might say, here is my bed, and the next part might look at him standing in front of his dish of food and say, here is my food, and then you might see him standing in front of his house, here is my house, those kinds of things. That would be the only difference. You might have 2 lines on the page, but no more than that. The second picture is just an example from an end of first grade level 16 or almost end of first grade. Shows you the kind of complex sentences kids will see. They have to take apart 2 and 3 syllable words sometimes. They have to have that a knowledge of a core of high frequency words that they will see often over and over again. We've also done some long-term look at what happens to these kids as they leave reading recovery and go back into regular education, the regular classroom instruction. And what I did here, and this is pulled from the report that I have you, that we shared with you in the board packet. There's a lot more information in there. But basically, we looked at 2 cohorts of students who received reading recovery during the 2008-9 school year and then the 2009-10. So those kids are currently in 6th and 7th grade. And we looked at how were they doing at the end of 5th grade using our benchmark assessments. And we found that overall 76% of those kids were at or near grade level still at the end of 5th grade. It did depend where they left the program. Obviously, the higher they were when they left, the more likely they were still at grade level. With those kids who successfully completed, over 90% of them, knowing that there are other things that cause kids to have problems with reading than, just the reading itself, the academic issues. So we're really pleased with the long-term success we've seen. We know there have been significant impacts on how we look at literacy in the district. just our understanding of really what is involved in teaching and learning literacy. It has to be comprehensive. It can't be just looked at as isolated what happens in one classroom, but rather how does it all work together across our schools and across grade levels. The importance of that strong foundation, and it's also had a big influence on the kind of coaching and collaboration and professional development that we do in our district. That access to literacy is so important that UNESCO even named it one of the fundamental human rights. And so it's something that we truly believe is critical. In addition to Katie and Mary, I also want to thank Karen Kabinski and Alyssa Jacobs, two of our other reading recovery teachers who are here tonight as well. And the job they do for our kids every day is phenomenal. Working again with the lowest, most needy kids in our first grade and really making significant impacts on them. On their behalf and all of our reading recovery teachers, I really want to invite you to come up and come out to one of our schools, observe a lesson or a few lessons, see what it's really all about, or we would invite you to some of our continuing professional development with our trained teachers or training of our new teachers as well.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the Valley Area Reading Recovery Consortium, or what we call VARC. It is a partnership of 11 districts that come together to provide the training and support for reading recovery. In the past, Menasha has been the fiscal agent. However, they are finding that they are having such a great movement of students in and out of their school district that often the kids that they have for reading recovery are leaving before the reading recovery is finished, or they're leaving right after. So they've decided that they really need to, at this point in time, really put their money into universal instruction for all teachers to help their population of students. So they have asked Oshkosh to be the fiscal agent, as we are the largest. We have the largest percentage of reading recovery teachers, and the fiscal agent must have an operating reading recovery program, and we do. So anyway, we are looking at assuming the fiscal agent responsibilities. Yes.
What is the benefit to this district of assuming that role?
I'll let you go ahead and speak to that, because you've been part of it for so long.
At this point, it's just the opportunity to have the training happen right here, not to have to send all of our teachers up to Menasha for it, which is what we've had before. But there could also be, significant benefits to the district in just how we're looked at as having that program and being a center for professional development for literacy, as we are for other things. At this point, because it's a consortium, I'm not sure how much effect that will have, but we may look at that down the road at changing some of those things as well.
Okay.
But
thank you.
And so here are some of the fiscal agent responsibilities that we will be taking on. We will be collecting the consortium fees from the other 11 districts that have the program, hiring and paying the teacher leader from those fees, hosting and training classes and continuing professional development for trained reading recovery teachers. We're going to be using Oaklawn as the site because they have the window that people can come in and observe the reading recovery lessons. And then providing professional development opportunities for classroom and other support teachers. And the ladies behind us are the ones that do that training.
And one of the hallmarks of reading recovery is what's called behind the glass training, which means that as a teacher, as you're being trained and even once you are trained and going through continuing professional development, you bring your own students, you work with them behind a one-way mirror while your colleagues watch and help support you and look at, help you look at how can I improve my own performance with those students to help make the best impact possible with them. And that has, it's something that is unique to reading recovery, or I should say was started with reading recovery and has been picked up by numerous other programs because they found it's a very effective way to do professional development.
What questions do you have?
Does anyone have any questions?
I always like to see what's going on with subgroups. And I noted that you had, I didn't drool over this, but I like the fact.
I do have the spreadsheets.
But I did appreciate the fact that you had disaggregated some data in terms of free and reduced lunch. Do you also have disaggregated data for ethnicity, for example, children of color?
We
or
do
percentages,
actually.
okay, of participation?
We do have some of that, yes. One of the nice things that with Reading Recovery is that all of the data on all of our students that we serve goes into the National Data Evaluation Center along with all those throughout the country. And we get a nice report printed out with all of that disaggregated data. So yes, we do have that available as well.
And do you serve ELL students who are perhaps, they used to be at levels 4 and 5, I don't know if they've changed the rating scales, those were the upper 2 levels some years ago?
There have been occasions, often what we'll do at the beginning of the year is like Katie or Mary and I will sit down with the teachers at the school and help them select based on the data first of all, but then also looking at some of those issues. Generally, we look at who are the lowest. Sometimes there are extenuating circumstances. ELL is one of them. If we have a student who really can't understand enough to even, really go through the testing, we probably will say, what's the plan we're going to put in place for them first semester to build that language, and then look at them for second semester. So we do that occasionally, but we also serve even students who've been identified with special ed. One of the requirements is that the student must have access to general education. So we've even worked with the special ed department sometimes to change IEPs so that we can provide that opportunity to those students who've already been identified. So, we don't automatically eliminate anyone. We do talk through it and say, what's the best option for this student right now?
Very good, very good. You're probably well aware of the program that's been around in Oshkosh for a number of years, supported through the Oshkosh Area United Way, called the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which will send it's a free registration, it's a free program to any child with an Oshkosh address, and it will send a book into the home of that child from birth until age 5.
Correct.
The United Way recently collaborated with the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, 2 reading professors, and because they wanted to know what were the results, what data could they show that this program had an impact, and they found 2 things. One was that those books are actually read to the children, at least that's the self-reporting, and secondly, that the parents are reading more. So I don't know how that relates to this, perhaps not at all. That may be a causal relationship or a casual, probably casual. But there is a program out there that will help promote literacy in the homes. Right now we have between 700 and 800 children, birth to 5, who are in that program, and that's not the total number of children in that cohort group. So if anyone is interested in that, they could contact the United Way for more information. But it is a free program, and it's based on a model that Dolly Parton herself created to improve literacy in her home state. So I just think this is so critical, because if you can't read, there are so many things in our society that you are eliminated from, or you don't have the ability to be, as we hear many times, college, career, and community ready. If you can't read and succeed, if you can't read, you can't fully succeed or reach your full potential. So I'm really happy to see that this program is continuing and that you've provided data to show its efficacy and relevancy. So thank you.
And again, I would like to compliment Deb on the issue of her work in leadership, since I have an audio view of staff development in the district by regularly hearing. I hear all the what's going on, and many times I just have to walk away from my desk and come in and listen, because it's so interesting. I'm being distracted from the work I should be doing, and the good work that you do in training our teachers is most appreciated and certainly successful. And I would like to, on the Dolly Parton, being from some past experience with that same program, I would like to believe that those who have been most successful in using the Dolly Parton reading library system may not be among those 20% that are having to come into the program, because I would think that the success at home and encouraging reading would in fact keep them in the 80% group as students are identified. So we need to find a way to get those books to that 20% to potentially reduce that number.
And I guess my understanding is that program tends to be maxed out most of the time, like there's a waiting list for people to get on.
The last
Is that-
time I asked about that, because I had heard that too, and I asked in March of this year, and I was told, no, there was not a waiting list at that time. And
So sign up.
so inquire and see what's going on.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Request for future agenda items. Anyone have anything they'd like to see happen in the future?
I would just like to apologize. We're 1 minute from my rule of nothing good happens after 9 o'clock. And but we had a lot of good news to share tonight about a lot of things, and so sometimes it does take time to get them to you. So my apologies for the length of the meeting, but the good news of all of these fine programs and advancements are critical for our learning.
Announcements? Anyone have any announcements?
I do have a quick shout out. You know I have to do it.
Well, I figured, Ms. Marshall.
This past weekend, the Oshkosh West Basketball Club, 8th grade boys, second state.
All right.
Out of approximately 30 teams.
Wow.
So it was an honor and a privilege to watch those students, and it's very obvious to me that there's a lot of learning that goes on outside of the classroom. It was just phenomenal to see, so I just had to give a shout out.
All right.
Other announcements? Just a quick observation, if I might, with this last report that we had here, to me it makes me sad. I mean, my children and the way I was raised, we eat books. I mean, our libraries in our houses are full of books, and I just got through dropping some books off the Lakeside School when we went out there and read. What makes me sad is that children don't have that opportunity when there are so many different ways that you can, whether it's at Goodwill or whatever, rummage sales for a dime to buy a book and not have that in your home, I think is really a sad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anything we can do to increase literacy or those opportunities is something that we should definitely be doing.
And I think that we are by the one-to-one integration, because with my use of technology, I've been looking at how to kind of like make a product. I've been doing a little side thing on my own, and I actually went to the public library to do more research. I found that extremely helpful, and I think that in any situation where you present your students with something that they're really passionate about and they have the option to go forward with, I think that they then will take the initiative to do their own passionate research and use resources for that, such as the public library. So I think that's cool steps that we're taking in order to achieve that. So
yes, I agree. At this time, then, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Last second.
I'll see you next week.
Yes. If you take the roll, please.
Saginac?
Aye.
Saginac, aye. Wienhoff? Tito?
Aye.
Tito, aye. Alive?
Aye.
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 Limerick, aye. Motion carried.
I'll be at policy government next week giving you a hard time.
She delivered this, and all the pins